So he showed up to the Twitter HQ with a sink, and he said, I've just finalized the deal. I've bought Twitter. Let that sink in."
No.
Yeah, he memed on them.
Oh man, what a lull.
Yeah, an epic lull.
Man, I wish I could meme like Elon Musk.
We all do, I think.
But sadly, I'm not 12 years old, so.
I find that deeply disrespectful to 12-year-olds.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I have seen such high quality memes from 12-year-olds
right now because they're not allowed to watch on Twitch. Anyways, hi everyone. Welcome to the show. Welcome everyone. Just FYI, we are doing an entirely We're doing an entirely new setup right now. It might not look it, but this is all brand new from this side of things. Very 4D chess. Our producer Conrad set it up, and I'm extremely unfamiliar with it. So if you hear any audio issues or see any problems, like I already made a mistake earlier, just let me know. And
we're actually broadcasting to you from inside the metaverse. Conrad has upgraded us. We no longer have to host the show physically. What you're watching right now are holograms. All of us are at a... Yeah, we are... Our real people, the actual hosts, are at a kinky fucking party in Berlin right now. We haven't fixed Tim and Mule's holograms yet, so at the moment it's a gal hologram stream, but it will get better.
Someone says I sound loud. You're loud.
Someone else said you're too quiet.
Wait, Kira's way quiet. What? And now the hold on. Now the chat's cut off. Hang on one second. Let me fix this.
We are broadcasting from inside a high-tech mind prison.
We're not allowed to be mean to me today.
Zuckerberg has imprisoned us. We are in the stream of the future right now.
Kira's in the background? What?
What does that mean? What does that even mean?
What?
Nice comments only, everyone.
Okay, so am I too loud or am I not too loud? Sorry, I meant the volume. Doesn't help. That doesn't help. Saying that Kira is in the background in the volume.
I think you're quiet.
I'm too quiet. Okay, how much too quiet? I'm way
I don't
too
know.
quiet.
You're
Someone says
perfectly
I'm way too quiet.
loud to
Someone
me,
says I'm
but...
kinda low.
Oh.
Oh, for the love of... All right, you know what? Hang on. I'll fix it. Chat.
She will.
I'll just fix it.
We all believe in her.
Is this better? Hold on. Is this better? All right, Sophie, say something.
I'm saying something.
Say something very base so we can test.
This is only for testing purposes. Being a billionaire is an inherently evil act, and every billionaire should be processed into slurry.
Wow.
That was an audio test.
I'll test. I think being a billionaire is a cool personality. That's because that's a personality. When you have billions of dollars, that's a personality, and it's a cool one.
I'm testing by saying no one gets to be a billionaire without being directly responsible for the starvation of children.
And I'm testing by saying you just sound really jealous. You sound like a jealous hater. All right, is that better, chat? Is that better? Are we good? Let me know if there's any other tweaks. And thank you for using such clear language. You're in the background, chat. You're in the background.
Okay, I'm now testing by saying, Kira, what's the most based thing you did this week?
Okay, the most based thing I did this week, I've been sick.
Self-care is based.
Right. My base thing was that I forced myself, because I was absent last week, I forced myself to do very little work, as much as I could manage to not do, given that, you know, I work for myself / I'm at the whims of people like Elon Musk and et cetera, et cetera. But like, you know, as a content creator, I can't, like, if I don't work, then I become very irrelevant very quickly. And also money, you know, comes in every day from it. So, as much as I could, I try not to work. So that's my base thing that I did. It was very difficult, especially as an American. American culture does not allow for you to take sick days at all.
Anti-work based week. Okay.
Yeah.
I dig it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was a slut again. I was even
being a slut is always
even
based.
While sick. Yeah, it's even while sick, I was still slutty. I was a slutty sick girl. No.
I mean, I'm always slutty and sick, but probably in a different way.
Wait. By the way, we need to tweet that we're live. Can
okay?
Someone?
Do you?
I don't know.
Do you want a screenshot pose?
Let's do a screenshot.
I'll do this.
Okay. Hold on. How do I? Hold on. Screenshot. What's with my hand? Why am I doing this? Okay, I think that's fine. I think we did it. Okay, you can stop now.
I can. I mean, I can. But also,
I don't think you. Maybe you. You know, you could totally. You should keep that pose the whole time.
Not that anyone asked, but the most basic thing I did this week.
Okay. Sophie.
I'm not gonna let this become a stream where I'm just bullying you.
Okay, because it's be nice to Kira
Yeah, no,
Day.
it's be nice to Kira Day. It is.
Yeah. Sophie, was the most base thing you did over the past week?
Oh, that's wild and surprising that you would ask me. I had a bit of a horrible experience, but it's turning into something based. So I found a lot of turf stickers around my neighborhood.
I saw that. Oh my god.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago, I went outside my house and like the two lampposts like directly outside my house, there were these like adult human female stickers on there. And then this week I found that they were really kind of like up and down my whole street and in like the next street over. And so I went around taking them down. And I've made plans to get a bunch of stickers from Transgender Action Block, who are a very cool organization. And they make some nice stickers as a little side project. And I'm also going to produce some stickers that say adult human feline with a picture of an anime cat girl and put them up specifically in all the places that the turf put the adult human female stickers.
That's really funny.
So that's the most base thing I did this week.
And you're here as an adult human feline right now.
That's right. I'm representing the cat girl caucus to talk about the Caucasus.
Do all
and
the
talk about
cat
being a
girls in the
cat girl in
chat
the
feel
Caucasus.
adequately represented right now?
I hope so.
Yeah. Because I don't know, is there like a meeting that you get selected, or is it just kind of like cat girls can just show up and just announce?
We're big on just showing up. We're big on not really being told what to do. It's actually hard to hold any meetings because you I don't know if you've heard the phrase herding cats before, but it's hard. It's difficult.
I'm having a really
Cool.
hard day.
You are, babe. Why don't I tell you about some
You're
news
gonna have
and you
to
can just
really
react to
carry
it?
me today, and I know
That's
that's
okay,
not
babe.
what you
I'm
wanted to do.
completely fine with that.
You're
It's fine.
You're just a cat girl, just trying to show up.
I wanted to just get some milk and just roll around, but I've not. That's unfortunately I have work to do. So, I'll tell you about the news, and you can just tell me what you think of it. Okay?
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. All right. So Elon Musk, it's going well. Elon Musk bought Twitter, and it's going really well, and everyone's really happy with him. What do you think of that?
I think it's great. I like we were talking about earlier. I think billionaires are cool because their whole personality is being a billionaire, and Elon Musk is the epitome of that. So I think that anything he does is going to be like an extension of that personality, which is cool and not cringe. Yeah, he's a very smart business boy. Exactly.
Oh God.
Is anyone here? Let me ask chat, because I'm going to tell you right now, this stream is going to be a weird one. It's already been a weird one, and I don't know how to like recover from it. And it just let me just have that. If you don't understand what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. You'll be filled in maybe.
If you listen to the podcast, that's an incentive to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, you really should listen to
so
the
they go
podcast.
up.
And you know what you should do is give us money on Patreon, because
That's
our
true.
amazing producer, Conrad, has set up this entire like intricate system that I am now using to get this message to you. And have a podcast and all sorts of like incredible organization that we didn't have prior. So if you give us money on Patreon, because I know you're not giving me money through Twitch because I'm barely streaming these days, which I will be streaming more in the future, but give us money on Patreon so Conrad can get paid, because we should compensate our comrades for their labor. So anyways, Elon Musk. Yeah. So I don't know if any of y'all, I'm not really sure how widespread the news is, because like I kind of only live in a couple places on the internet. But if you didn't know, Chad, Elon Musk officially acquired, my understanding is he officially acquired Twitter, the website, for $44 billion.
Yeah, so there's a funny thing about this. I think it might be in the first source. And
Oh yeah.
Musk,
Okay, I should probably.
Musk's offer for $44 billion was so high that so a cool thing about capitalism, which works and is definitely a really smart system, is that if people on the board of a company are given like a choice, and they make a choice which is like bad for the like, oh god, if they don't make the most capitalist decisions, they can be sued for financial irresponsibility. So he made them such a high offer to buy Twitter, they had to accept, and then he fired the whole board and made himself the sole director.
Oh, why can't I see my? Oh wait, I got this. Hold on.
Got
Let's
this.
see
I
here.
believe in you. You can do it.
Overlay. Oh wait, did I need it? Maybe I was supposed to set up a screen thingy. You know what? I'm gonna do that right now.
That's okay. Yeah. So, chat. If you didn't know
apologies.
this already, the $44 billion offer could essentially legally they couldn't refuse him, and then because he
Which
took
is
out a bunch
very
of money.
Elon Musk to like.
Yeah.
Force,
Absolutely.
To force his like.
Yeah.
To
Like he's
expose
basically
him
just bought the
making
playground because nobody would hang out with him.
People. Wait, how about I
Like
stream
he's
this
just a
now,
rich
right?
kid who no one liked, so he just bought the playground. And because he had to borrow a ton of money to make that offer, now Twitter has inherited the debt, and so Twitter has to make like $4 billion a year for the next like
Here we go.
3 years. Otherwise, it is just dead, basically. So he's making good, powerful, excellent decisions.
Is exactly what we suspected, because
Yeah.
it's not like he's not like worth like billions of dollars. Like he's a genius. He's a
Yeah,
genius.
of course. Yeah.
And
He's
anyone
the
who says
richest man
otherwise
on
is a
Earth.
hater. Any haters in the chat? Show yourselves.
You know what's tragic about Elon Musk above all else is that our society makes money into freedom, right? So the more money you have, the more free you should be. And he is so constrained by like trying to be cool, trying to be funny, trying to be trendy, trying to have cool friends, trying to have people care what the fuck he thinks, that he is one of the least free people, despite being the richest man on earth.
That's interesting.
Isn't that just amazingly terrible? He is so, I mean, you know, obviously he's not actually materially less free than someone who, say, like, works in a sweatshop or, like, one of his factories even, but, like, he is in a constant mind prison every day. It's terrible.
It is really interesting how like
yeah.
like the billionaires will like they're aiming to like fulfill themselves with money, because that's what capitalism tells you, that like you can fulfill
Yeah.
yourself with money. If you're uncomfortable, that discomfort, it's gonna end once you just gotta keep going. And it's
Yeah.
clear that like, yeah, you can buy certain things. You can buy food, you can buy shelter, you can buy like luxuries, conveniences, but ultimately you're fucking miserable. Like he's a miserable person. It's painfully
Yeah.
clear how
Yes.
unbelievably miserable he is. And it's just like, it's one of those things that's like really interesting. It just shows that like, it really is you can win, but you can't win. There's no winning.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. There are definitely, like, you know, there are just definitely other billionaires who don't bother with the public eye, don't try and like buy Twitter, they don't try and impress anyone, they just like suck and fuck at the like private eyes wide shut parties, and they like stage a coup in Latin America to increase their profit margin by $1, and they just keep things to themselves, and Elon Musk he could have that, and he doesn't. He just doesn't. It's amazing. Okay, so the rest of these notes about Twitter...
I'm looking at the rest of these sources. Wait, what is this one? Can you...
Well, how about you... The way I've formatted this, really, is I've said, the purchase of Twitter is going really well. So before each next note, I want you to ask me, how well is it going?
Okay, let me do this. Okay. Of each source or each note? Yeah, whatever.
Both.
Okay. So, Sophie, so you tell me... okay, after the first note, yeah. So wait, how well is it going for Elon Musk purchasing Twitter?
It's going so well that the live twitter.com website right now is currently a dev build full of errors, and if you inspect the page, your console will just fill up with errors that all point to internal resources that would be incredibly easy to hack, because it's just a dev build. It should not be public. It's a
Oh no.
As someone who's worked in programming for 6 years, this is deeply, deeply funny to me. I also have just like secondhand embarrassment. Like the cringe is too much.
Do you think that like people like sabotaged it before they left or something, or?
No, he fired half the staff.
And it just immediately falls apart?
He's fired half the staff at the same time that he's asked them to push a ton of really, really, really big changes.
Oh, yeah.
So like, again, having worked in programming, it's like the more urgently a client asks you to make changes, the closer you veer to this exact situation where you just push the dev build live. You just skip QA and you just ignore any kind of safety protocols. And I mean, he's blown past that point of no return where like usually people would be like, no, I'll never ever do that. That's a terrible idea. But he is, he's reduced their workforce literally 50%. And also, so that's how well it's going. Or is it? Is there more? Is there more I could tell you?
Is there more? Because I feel like that's pretty bad already. But like, how is it going?
Well, it's going really well.
Yeah? Let's see.
Yeah, it's going so well that Musk called an all-hands meeting saying that anyone who didn't show up to the office in person within an hour would be fired, and then he showed up 15 minutes late to the meeting, and then he rambled like Donald fucking Trump about gizmos.
Wait, this was an actual quote from him?
You want me to read you the quote?
I would love for you to read me the quote.
It's amazing. He said, I'd love to see ads for gizmos, and if I saw ads for gizmos, I love gizmos, of course, I'd buy them all. Click, click, click. And if they... And even if they're not that great, I'd still buy gizmos. I love technology. I see content for gizmos, but not an ad or an actual ability to buy the gizmo, so I'll have to send it to my assistant, like, buy this gizmo, please. That's how it goes generally, but I would be happy just to be able to click on it and buy it. So that's how well it's going.
Gizmo the
or
cat
is there more?
Not amused. Yeah, or is there more? There's no way there's more.
Well, it's going so well that Musk has cut the workforce in half, firing hundreds of Twitter employees. Could a class action lawsuit for wrongful termination or other collective efforts be in the Twitter workers' future? Who knows? Perhaps. I'm not saying that I definitely know for sure that forming a union between the workers who are still there and the workers who've been fired and turning it into a workers' co-op and firing Elon Musk would be based. You know what? I am saying that. It turns out I talked myself into it as I was describing it. So it's going really well.
I just saw the one about Twitter manager vomited after Elon Musk ordered him to fire employees.
Yeah. Literally hundreds of employees. But if you look in on-air text chat, I actually dropped another link relating to this specifically just before the show started. It's a DM here that says, I'm a contractor and your reporting is accurate. I just learned that I was laid off by reading your tweets and then trying to log in on Slack and email and realized it was all gone.
No.
So it's like someone's reporting on Twitter and that people are finding out they're fired by that reporter, not by any kind of communication from the company.
Listen, this is just what genius looks like. It's messy. And
there's method in the madness.
There's method, exactly. And you're a hater.
Well, that's how well it's going. Or is it? Could there be more? Could there be more about how well it's going?
Is there more? I can't believe there's
it's going
more.
So well that advertisers are leaving Twitter like rats from a sinking ship, leading Elon to seek new revenue options. Coca-Cola, Pfizer, General Motors, and other enormous advertisers have left Twitter altogether because they can tell it's garbage and a piece of shit. And especially after he tweeted that he thinks everyone should vote Republican, they were just like, nope, can't do that. Can't be around this guy. Can't do this anymore. Bye-bye.
I don't know what marketer wants to go near that. Advertisers unconvinced after Musk tries to reassure them that Twitter chaos won't hurt them. Mm-hmm. Also, the head of what is it? Oh my god, I tweeted about this like yesterday. The head of the head of this like what is it, like moderation or something like that? Who was like on Twitter, like standing beside Elon Musk, being like, "Hey, everything's gonna be fine. This isn't going to hell. You can trust me." That guy quit. He's like one of the highest level people that's been like the face of like trying to reassure people, and he like quit along with a bunch of other like executives. So I think it's going great.
Yeah, I mean, it is going really well. It's going so well. This is the last note I've got on this. It's going so well. Musk, as the new god king of Twitter, is already using his platform just comedically irresponsibly. And probably the best example of that, now this is a deleted tweet, so we can't bring it up because he at least had a smidgen of shame. But a little context, for the last few weeks, Alex Jones has been spreading a conspiracy theory because Nancy Pelosi's husband was attacked in their home by a far-right lunatic with a hammer. And Alex Jones has been doing this bit on his show where he's saying, like, two men in the bedroom in their underwear with hammers. I don't know, it's self-explanatory. And it's like, no, it's not. I don't know what fucking hammer fetish you're imagining, but he's peddling this conspiracy theory that the guy who attacked them was actually a male sex worker who was there to see Pelosi, Mr. Pelosi, that is, and that they called the police because I don't know. And Elon Musk shared that conspiracy theory. He then deleted it, so he at least had like that exactly this much shame.
Wow.
But yeah, it's going well. It's going well.
Also, he's been being fact checked on his own website repeatedly. Did you see that?
I did see that. It was so
he was
funny.
like, actually, Twitter brings in more engagement, more clicks than any other website. And then underneath is like, actually, no, this is the fact check. And it's actually like Facebook brings in like 70-something% or whatever. I don't know. I'm kind of butchering it. And then also he fucked up the really insulin. I just need to pull up the references to these tweets. It's all in my head. I really should just put these things down into our show notes. But
no, I think that's everything for Elon Musk. Let me move on to the next piece of news. Oh wait, no, it's still Twitter, because the insulin thing is the next piece of news.
I don't know if okay, so I should say I don't think we filled in because we're insufferably online, right? But I don't know if everyone here is insufferably online. Elon Musk acquired Twitter, then he made all these changes, and one of the changes he made. If you know anything about Twitter, people have these check marks. He's like check marks next to their names if they're like official verified users. So like a lot of like journalists and politicians. You know what? I'm
gonna say even if I'm assuming everyone right now listening is on Twitter, in a year, if someone listens back to old episodes of the pod, they're gonna be like, "What was Twitter?"
Yeah, good point. And also, what is Twitter blue? What?
So after the advertisers left, Elon needed to find new sources of income, so he suggested that people should pay $8 a month to get to have a check mark.
Get to have a check mark, but not only to get to have a check mark. but also that now check marks and what they mean is obsolete because anyone can just purchase a check mark. So it no longer means you're an official, like the verified
but then
person.
he backpedaled on that, and they added a feature where you could click on the check mark to see if someone bought their check mark or if they got it because they're a noteworthy person.
And then some people also got another check mark underneath that check mark that said official in smaller letters if they're like official, but not all
I have a
official
screenshot
people.
of that in the sources if you want to show it.
Not all official people get it. Just
if you look on
sometimes
source
they do.
2, if you look on source 2 for this piece, you can now see official, Twitter verified, real corporation, authentic. This is the solution that Elon Musk came up with to fix the problem of fake accounts. And the problem of fake accounts is a big one because the thing we're actually trying to describe right now is because people could buy Twitter check marks, which usually mean you're verified and you're the legit thing. Someone made a fake Eli Lilly pharmaceutical giant Twitter account.
Why would they do that? Don't they know they're
bought
helping
the Twitter
people?
Blue and then tweeted insulin is free, and within a few hours this $9 billion company lost $6.8 billion.
Based. Now, if any of you were behind that, you don't have to tell us who you are, but you can DM us. But don't use Twitter.
This will be like when the van man reached out to me. Someone will DM me and be like, it was me.
Watch,
I said insulin is free.
5 reviewers were like, it was me, and like, y'all are all just a bunch of liars. But yeah, that was extremely cool. And also, you know what it underlines? It underlines just how finicky and ridiculous this entire system is. That a tweet can just tear down money that you and I in several of our lifetimes wouldn't even see a fraction of, right? Just with one tweet is just gone. 1. And 2, the fact that the investors were like, what? Saving lives and just being, actual compassion? No, I'm pulling out. This is not lucrative for me anymore. It's just like, it's just a disgusting system. Ugh. Yeah, no, if you missed, if some of you like were like not on Twitter over the past few days, it's been like the most fun I've had on Twitter possibly since Twitter started, because Twitter's a miserable place. It's a miserable place. It has utility.
I've been on it like 13 years and it's never been good. It's always been fucking terrible.
But now we're all coming together to bully a billionaire, and it's working because he's clearly like pissing and shitting himself. His mom's even showing up to be like, everyone stop bullying my son. He gets too much hate, which is also funny as hell. But yeah, we got like all sorts of verified accounts. Like apparently George Bush shows up with his check mark to say he misses killing Iraqis.
Did you see that one, Tony? And Tony Blair quote tweeted it and was like, "Me too."
Oh yeah. There are so many. Y'all should check it out. Maybe someone can like link something in the chat, but like there's so many threads of just like the best quote unquote verified accounts that I was just like, I've been crying laughing, just sitting on my couch, just crying my eyes out laughing.
It's so funny.
Yeah. His mom, his actual mom is actually like trying to defend him right now. It's just really funny.
That's incredible.
Okay.
That's incredible. Let's talk about some probably more real news. I mean, like deleting $7 billion out of the economy with a tweet is tragically real. Somehow that's a thing people can just do now.
It is tragically real.
But
it shouldn't be.
Let's talk about the election a little bit. The midterms just happened. Lots of far-right pundits were saying it was going to be a red tsunami. Finally we're going to take back the House from those Democrat pedophiles, all of that stuff. And now, no, that didn't happen.
Yeah,
that did not happen.
The right went really, really hard in trying to smear the lesser right group.
Yeah.
By being like, if you vote
the
for
other
them,
wing of the business party. Yeah.
Right. If you vote for them, then your children are gonna be like taken from you and transed and like all sorts of stuff.
It's what happened to me,
And now
my parents voted Labour one time. Yeah, now I'm a cat girl permanently.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of like an awesome tale. You too can have a cat girl. Like, it's just so much cooler. Anyway,
I haven't got loads of notes for this one. I've just said America has voted for the party that doesn't actively turn the cruelty dial up to 11. Well done, America.
Right.
You get an official Red Planet thumbs up. Good job.
It's really nice to see that at least that. But yeah, no, it's not gonna.
Yeah.
I see there's some people on my server being like, looking like they're like getting optimistic, and I was like, you're just gonna be disappointed again. Like,
don't become invested in electoral politics.
No.
It is a
Vote and then get
it
the
is a
fuck out.
deliberately distracting bullshit machine which will never bear fruit. It exists to paralyze you. It is there to waste your life.
And can I just say that Fetterman, please stop standing him. He is a Zionist. He is a Zionist. He is a Zionist. He is a Zionist. Vote for him to get to not, I mean, it's over now. But if you voted for him, I'm not saying you shouldn't have. You probably should have, because the other guy was worse. Dr. Oz was far worse, right?
Dr. Oz was running?
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
Dr. fucking Oz. Thank you, Oprah. But please stop running around saying that he's some like person that we should be like.
Your country's fake, babe. Your country's just fake. It's a fake country.
How dare you? How dare
it's
you?
It's just a cartoon country. How the fuck?
How dare you?
Arnold Schwarzenegger was the governor of like one of the largest states.
All I'm trying to say is, now that I have this, that y'all are watching, please stop standing Fetterman. It's really weird, and it's really, really fucking racist and shitty to do so. He's a fucking Zionist. He's explicitly said that if he wants to gain his position of, or he wants to become a senator, or if he's a senator, he would lean in on efforts to strengthen ties between America and Israel. Purposely.
Yeah, because they need strengthening. Yeah, they're all too feeble.
He literally said, and you can look this up, I've tweeted it a bunch. He's literally said he's going to use his position as senator to like strengthen these ties, and to like, and that he's like against like people like Ilhan Omar and et cetera, for being like anti-Zionist, or, you know, pro-Palestine.
I need to respond to a couple of things in chat. So some people are saying Sophie was out of the loop. Yes, I don't care about electoral politics. I cannot yell loud enough about how much I don't care about electoral politics. It doesn't. You vote for the reduction of harm and then leave
and then you
and
move
get
on
on with your life.
And then move
Go.
on. See, okay.
Leave. And then people are also saying, says Turf Island, for me saying that you live in a fake country. No, Britain is tragically real. It's upsetting that Britain is real. It's unfortunate and upsetting and sad that Britain is real. And Britain and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. America, on the other hand, is fake. It is made up. It never existed. It's a fiction. We made it up. It never happened. John Fetterman says he'll lean in on U.S.-Israel relationship as senator. Good God.
Yeah, I'm just saying this because
and this is the Democrat alternative to Dr. Oz.
This guy, everyone's trying to like, yes, correct. This guy, and this is why we're like the right wing, and then the ever so slightly less right wing. The relationship is a special one that needs to be safeguarded, protected, supported, and nurtured through legislation and all available diplomatic efforts in the region, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he's great. Like, this is electoral politics.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
No, I made a TikTok recently where I was like, the Labour Party, like, trans people cannot feel safe voting for the Labour Party because, like, their MPs attend, like, literally fascist rallies for hate groups for the extermination of trans people. And a whole bunch of people who just got my replies like, oh, so you're saying the Tories should win? And it was just like, yeah, that's obviously what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, this is the
clearly
exact same
saying
thing that
the
we deal with in
Tories
America.
should win.
It's just like so fucking annoying. It's just like, that's how you know you don't have to even give it that person even like a second of your energy. Just be like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever.
Okay, next news. Iran. Things are carrying on as we've been covering in Iran. Now 326 people have been killed in protests, but the protests carry on strong. It just shows how much the people are not taking it and how much they're fed up.
Yeah, the Iranian people have been being oppressed for, pretty violently for a good amount of time now. So this...
the 326 people sadly includes 43 children. I mean, anyone dying obviously is a tragedy. It's pretty sickening that the state is like this.
Not sure whether they say 25 women. That's a little weird.
Yeah,
Thank you, CNN.
In my notes, I kept it to like 43 children because I was like, I don't really. What?
No, you see, the
Oh
women are
no,
the bearers
25
of the
women.
children, so
Yeah,
and
right,
they're the property
exactly.
that we should be protecting. So it's really a big deal when
Right.
the women
That
get
that
harmed.
that's not like exactly opposite to what they are protesting for or anything. um it's like there are a lot of women in these protests because they're
God!
fighting for their like basic freedom, and then you're reporting like, "Oh my god, they killed women." And it's like, "Yeah, cuz there's lots of
No,
women. Fuck, man. Come on."
we should make sure these women are not involved and maybe kept in a house, locked away for their own safety.
So you will probably notice a theme running through the notes I have made today. In source 2 for this news item, we have the UN calling for Iran to not execute peaceful protesters. And the theme running through the news in the sources I have this week is the UN just being clown college, just being unbelievably absurd, just like. Wow, hey Iran, please stop executing peaceful protesters. Ooh, it's sad that you do that.
Uh, yeah, the
Yeah,
UN,
yeah.
the toothless organization that just
Well,
decides to just be like, we're the West and we're just really concerned about the obviously
we'll
bad
get to
things.
Haiti in a second, and then it turns out the UN is far from toothless. But
Oh,
the news about Iran for now, protesters are planning another big push on November 15th. It is now November 13th, so in 2 days, we should expect a lot more big protests in Iran. I don't know if there is like this. This is part of what I'm getting at with the UN thing is that like when the UN is saying, "Wow, please stop doing that. That's not nice. You shouldn't do that. Stop." It's like they are a regime who are executing peaceful protesters. They're not going to stop because the UN is like, "Stop, you guys." The only thing that's going to stop them is the people overthrowing
it's just
them, and
virtue
I think
signaling. It's just virtue signaling.
yeah,
Because especially
yeah,
when if
kind
you know
of. It's
anything about
completely
how
meaningless.
you know anything about the history of Iran and like its relationship with like Western nations
Yeah.
and stuff. It's like it's not like,
Yeah.
oh, you think I should oh, okay. See, I didn't realize that this bothered you. Like this is not
Oh, you said stop executing peace. I thought you said execute peaceful prisoners. I literally just missed the start of your message. I just missed the stop. I'm so sorry.
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think that these protests will probably just keep getting bigger. I can't see an out that isn't some serious change happening in Iran because people are fucking mad. Understandably. Right. Shall I start telling you about Haiti?
Sure.
Cool. I did some research, I did some learning, and you're all going to learn with me now. So Haiti is in a situation right now. And if you look at a lot of Western media, you will see Western media saying that the situation they are in is that violent crime is on the rise. There was an earthquake last year. The president was assassinated last year, and it's all in turmoil, and gangs are in complete control of the streets, and everyone is terrified, and they're all begging for UN intervention, and that is bullshit and disgusting lies. It's really sucks when you get down to the bottom of like how badly Western media lies about Haiti in particular, but like a lot of the Imperial Core, Imperial Periphery rather. So Haiti is currently experiencing mass protests against UN intervention. So the president of Haiti was not elected. He was just put in. I think by the UN to some degree, after the previous president was assassinated last year. And so he's not been elected. He's been in there like over a year since last July now. And he is calling for UN intervention. He wants there to be more intervention in Haiti. But the people don't. And there are mass protests against it right now. Haiti is one of the countries that's had the most like Western intervention, like direct intervention of like any country. Obviously, people who are familiar with the broad strokes of the history of Haiti know that it had like a slave rebellion and revolution, which is like it's I believe the only slave colony to have like a revolution that led to their independence as a nation, and the European powers and then America have like never stopped punishing them for that. which is really cool. It's really, really, really cool. So like Britain, France, Canada, the US, the UN have all like just periodically just kept fucking Haiti just constantly. There was a period in the like 50s to the 80s where it was under like a kind of complicated dictatorship. There was a guy called Papa Doc, and then his son who was called Baby Doc, ran the country in that period, and it was kind of complicated because the guy like Papa Doc was originally elected, and a lot of people really liked him because he was doing a lot of like stuff pushing like essentially pushing Black power, like essentially pushing for like more consolidation of the rights and freedoms of Black people on the global stage. But then kind of just became more and more totalitarian, and then his son took over, and his son didn't have any reason not to just be a dickhead. And yeah, I think an interesting note that we might have touched on last week was that we celebrate Lula winning in Brazil, obviously, but one thing that Lula did when he was in power before was actually like he tried to expand Brazil's power. Pardon me. He tried to expand Brazil's power on the global stage by offering to the UN that they would handle the like occupation of Haiti. And so like there are a lot of people in Haiti who like really understandably just like hate Lula.
It's
really
certainly not a perfect
I mean, it's
guy.
worth knowing. No, absolutely. He's also like personally against abortion. We've talked about this before, but like
which is shitty.
You know, we celebrate his win in Brazil because, I mean, like, you know, not cutting down the rainforest is good. And, you know, he is also like, he is also like a leftist.
It's hard to
yeah,
get
he's
worse
very
than that
far
guy.
from Bolsonaro, but it is like, there are problems. And like, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre and interesting to see someone kind of be like, we'll bully the smaller kid in order to win points with the bigger kids, you know? Like, I want more power on the global stage, so we'll join in on the bullying.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of like,
Yeah.
that's kind of like the history of whiteness, you know, and things like that. It's unfortunate.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
current
Like I
reality
mean
of
that
it.
is when I first learned about it. I was explaining it back to Nat after I had just been learning about Lula, Lula's legacy in Haiti, and I the first thing I said about it was like, it's like Lula went to the UN and was like, "Hey guys, we're white. We could be white."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, Haiti has just basically had this like constant carousel of like colonialism from its original like founding as its original like, you know, slave colony history to the UN today, and yeah, when you see people reporting that like it's being terrorized by gangs, that's not. I mean, like there is violent crime in Haiti, but like it's as in the natural byproduct of like capitalism falling apart and people having access to guns and wanting like resources to live. It's not like
It's always amazing when
it's
they
not
mix
like
all of the extreme, all of the like context of like why are gangs occurring if they're occurring at all,
Yeah.
right? And it's typically
Yeah.
just like, no, we're gonna point it's a demonization. It's just like extraordinarily racist demonization of
Exactly,
like
yeah.
the imperial periphery that is trying to like handle the immense like barrage of colonialism that is constantly
and the
reoccurring.
legacy of all the colonialism it's already had to deal with.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, so we will in this episode we
We've
will
talked about
talk
Haiti on
about
this
a little
stream,
bit about
in
like
depth, right? I think
Yeah.
we have, yeah.
a little, yeah. We will talk in this episode a little bit about a government who is like involved with organized crime, has like unbelievable corruption, and that's not like when they're like Haiti in the grip of gangs. It's like that's not the situation. It's like they have a UN puppet government, and then people who are desperate, and then a lot of other people, like the mass of people who are just like, we just need medicine and food and clean water. So one thing that the UN did that I think is really worth highlighting is that during, I think, the first UN occupation of Haiti, sexual violence, specifically from the UN occupying soldiers, was like there was a massive wave of it. And also like cholera. Like cholera wasn't like a problem in Haiti before the UN came, and like Haitians will describe it in absolutely black and white terms, like the UN gave us cholera, and then like the UN said that they would raise, I think it's like 40 billion or something, which, you know, Elon Musk can do easily.
For the
To like help victims of cholera around the world, and then they've raised like less than 5% of that, and then just gave up and just fucked off. So the UN, useless shitheads or actively evil, you decide.
It is.
It's the last one.
So it's so interesting that like these organizations get. It reminds me of the bumbling male trope. So like under
Yes.
patriarchy, if you didn't know the trope, there's like lots of different. You know, the patriarchy manifests in different ways, and one of them is the bumbling male. This is the man
Yes.
that is, you know, men that are insistent on like, you know, running families, running companies, you know, having their, being able to like have the last word and be able to make the decision, you know, all the patriarchy things. But when it comes down to accountability, I didn't know she was underage. How was I supposed to know that you know, people were like fudging the numbers? I can't possibly know. Like all of a sudden they couldn't figure out, you know, the most basic of things that they should be able to figure out, especially if they're insisting on running every company, every family, every whatever, you know? And so it reminds me a lot of like the UN. It's like toothless,
big time.
when they're like, oh, you really shouldn't do bad things. But when it comes down to like the imperial periphery and their ability to, you know, pull this kind of garbage, looks like they're able to infect a lot of people with cholera, commit all sorts of sexual violence. Just
how did I know? I didn't know we all had cholera and we were just going to give them cholera. That's crazy. How, am I supposed to test every single person for cholera before we go to a foreign country that we're occupying with soldiers? Like, come on.
we're just the UN. We don't know anything about international relations. Why are we supposed to? Who? Johnson? Did you know? God, you know what? We're gonna just have to do some layouts.
No, look, I'm writing it down now. People don't like having cholera. And now I know. And in future, I won't give people cholera. Okay? But I said I'm sorry. Like, what more do you want from me? I'll try to raise the money to deal with the cholera. But I can't promise we'll get the money. And that's not my fault.
You know what? People are just really jealous of the UN. I said it. Listen, it's the truth. You're just jealous. The UN. You don't like them. You're jealous.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do the next news article. So there is a thing called a joint enterprise prosecution in the UK. And the source we have for this is rightfully pointing out that, like, even from an American perspective, this is fucked. Like, this is some deeply
America's
racialized
horrible.
policing. Yeah, so this is some deeply racialized policing in the UK, and I'm expecting that it may shock you. So joint enterprise prosecutions are basically if you are friends with someone who gets convicted of like stabbing someone, you can just be charged as an accomplice, so long as you're black.
No. They don't say that though in the law.
No,
It's not like that's racist. It's not like they just pick and choose when they get to apply these things to people.
So this is the Crown Prosecution Service we're talking about, which current leader of the Labour Party, Keir Starmer, was head of. So specifically, the loud part and the quiet part would be said in Keir Starmer's voice, which is like, if you're friends with someone and they stab someone, then you could also be an accomplice if you're black. There was a report in 2016 calling out the Crown Prosecution Service for this, and a lot of activists and lawyers really thought like that would change things, and like that after the it was actually, we have a Supreme Court here, it just doesn't play quite the same role. And so there was a Supreme Court ruling that like ruled that they had been using joint enterprise prosecutions too much and wrongly and in a prejudiced way. And as you can imagine, that completely reformed it. We haven't had any joint enterprise prosecutions since 2016. Oh no, I'm just checking my notes here. It looks like it's the opposite, and actually the Crown Prosecution Service has been doing more joint enterprise prosecutions since 2016. So that's great. That's just fucking...
Has anyone done a study or any sort of analysis on like the racial composition, like the straight up racial composition of the people that are being persecuted this way? Because I think we all expect it to be very racialized.
Oh yeah, it is entirely
probably non-white, I would imagine.
No, it's a very specifically against black men. It's like the way that this is being used is a targeted campaign to deal with what they see as like London gang violence, and it's a big thing in Manchester as well. Not gang violence, to be clear. Them using this bullshit like racist nonsense. And so yeah, I mean it's practically 100%. That's what it's literally for.
Christ.
Yeah, so it sucks basically, and that's something that it's a good article. It's worth a read if people are interested. I'll drop the link in the chat. Oh. Okay, thanks, babe.
I'll do it. Yeah.
It's a bummer. It's not like good, cool based news, but being aware of it, could lead to some kind of reform or challenge of it. Maybe, I don't know.
Let's see here.
But yeah, I mean, it's just really worth noting when I'm saying that, like, when I'm saying how extremely terrible the current Labour Party is and how they don't present any kind of meaningful opposition to the Tories, again, like, the head of the Crown Prosecution Service who were doing this shit for decades was Keir Starmer, the current leader of the Labour Party. Like, there's no way out of it's racist gammon people all the way down. As I said, it is tragic that Britain is real.
I was just thinking that. I was like, and there's
Britain and its consequences.
Yeah, it's a very real country.
Very tragically real country. Okay.
I'm actually,
then the last...
by the way, I'm actually visiting Canada in a few weeks, so that's like even less real of a country. It goes like...
It is. I mean, yeah.
UK, realist, right? And then we got America, it's the spin-off, and then the Canada, which is like...
Yeah,
Canada was owned by Britain for like a really long time, right? I just learned this the other day.
Canada still answers to the king. Fuck the king, by the way. Like, Canada is still part of the Commonwealth.
It's so funny.
Like, America is fake. Canada is also fake. But Canada is like Britain-themed America. With occasional, like... occasional, like, French areas.
Right. I don't know what to do with that part, yeah. Anyways, so... Okay, so next, let's see here. Yeah, Myanmar.
Okay, next piece. International community has no worthwhile response to the civil war in Myanmar. So this is a really interesting one. First, let's get this out of the way. The UN urges the military junta, who are currently operating an authoritarian regime in Myanmar, to restore democracy. Good job, UN. You're nailing it. You're doing so well. Keep it up, sweetie.
You're doing great, sweaty.
Just like it's literally a military junta. Like they just say, UN chief urges Myanmar junta to get democracy back on track. Awesome.
Where is democracy on track in the UN? Like what part? Which all the UN countries are.
Well, America apparently. I saw people on Twitter saying we're going to save democracy by voting for the Democrats. So apparently, democracy has been saved.
Well, that's what democracy feels like. Wow, can you feel that? Love this.
Wow, I'm so jazzed for you that you have democracy.
Yeah, take notes. That's how it's done.
So, the reason I'm saying this, like, the international community has absolutely no worthwhile response to the civil war in Myanmar. I think it's not impossible they'll suddenly have a response if, say, socialism emerges in Myanmar. But they, at the moment, they're doing absolutely nothing, and the most that there's been is like reporting on the bad things that are happening, but they won't point out that there is a civil war happening there. They won't point out that there are like revolutionary groups fighting for their liberation there.
No.
They're just like,
it's just
wow, the military junta is being so mean. I wish they would stop.
because they're painting the picture, and I'm sure if you have like boomer parents, you were probably raised with this understanding of non-white countries. It's that
Right.
non-white countries are filled, with people that are just like, acting in this like very uncivilized manner, and there's
Right,
no
just
rhyme or
like the
reason to it. And
Haiti-
it's nothing to do with us, and we're just here to tell you to stop doing that because we, as in the white Western Imperial Core
Yeah,
countries,
yes,
just
yeah.
are just really civilized, and you should look to us for guidance through the
Right, just like the Haiti is in the grip of gangs because
Exactly.
those people just love to have gangs.
Yeah, they just have them, and like, see, you just don't have them. You should just not.
So-
do that.
So the regime in Myanmar before Aung San Suu Kyi came back was perpetrating a genocide against the Rohingya people. Then Aung San Suu Kyi came back, and there was a lot of discussion about how like democracy is saved, Myanmar is going to be doing so great now, it's all fixed, and basically no, there's a very good reporting by the pals and gals over at It Could Happen Here, and Robert Evans makes a bit of a comparison between Aung San Suu Kyi and Obama, like a bit of a comparison where like it's the symbol of like so many people are being like, yeah, it's fixed, we have the right leader in charge now, but like actually all of the problems of the state that existed before are getting like actively worse, and then because nothing has been fixed, it just leads to fascists coming in right afterwards, which is what happened. So Aung San Suu Kyi was deposed, and there's this military junta there now. But like I say, that's usually where the reporting ends. Usually the reporting ends at that and is just kind of like, and now things are just shit. But again, I really urge people to check out It Could Happen Here's reporting on this, because they did a series a while ago about the use of 3D printed weapons in Myanmar and the revolutionary groups there. And they just this week gone did a really good series about like the general state of resistance groups in the region, particularly focusing on the Karen state of Myanmar, which basically Myanmar is a very ethnically divided country, and so people are familiar that there are the Rohingya people who've been persecuted, but there's also the Karen, and there are like several other groups as well. And so within the Karen state, there are like 5 cooperating armed groups right now. So one is the People's Defense Force, which is kind of the biggest revolutionary armed group right now. There is, let me see, there are 2 splinter groups of the state's armed forces. So the state's armed forces, the reason I'm saying like it's a civil war and we should just be calling it that, and it's weird that like a lot of reporting just doesn't, is like the state's armed forces, like the Border Guard Force and the DKBA, like have literally split. Like tons of police and soldiers are just defecting into the revolutionary groups, like directly, and that like that's a civil war, right? You know. Nat's just pointing out in chat the comparison between Aung San Suu Kyi and Obama. Both even got given Nobel Peace Prizes for being elected. Yeah, exactly. And that's, you know, I mean, I thought it was my generation who were given the participation trophies, but apparently not. So, yeah, I don't know. I think Myanmar's really interesting to talk about. There's something in the reporting that It Could Happen Here did last week where they were talking to people. So they literally went there and hung out with some people who are in revolutionary groups right now.
Wow.
And where Myanmar's popped up in the Red Planet news over the last few months, it's been mostly me pointing out that they are using 3D printed weaponry, which is interesting because it's, you know, it's to do with the state of modern warfare, and specifically like civil, like insurgents and civil war, right? Because a lot of people will kind of be like, 3D printed weaponry isn't going to like fight off the state because you can't it's not really that mobile or whatever, but it totally is. Like if you have the files and you have a printer, you just need a flat surface. You can you can take it anywhere and just be a gun factory, right? And so one thing that was really interesting in their reporting last week was they asked a bunch of the people who were in let me see. I think people who are in the PDF, the People's Defense Force, but they might have been in the Karen People's, what the fuck is it called? People's Council, I think. And like a lot of them basically said that when the junta took power, they just Googled how to make gun, how to make bomb, like stuff like this. And I think that's just really interesting for like, I think a lot of the time we think that revolutionaries and people who are gonna like would be like resistance fighters and revolutionary fighters if shit went down really badly in your country would be people who are kind of ideologically aligned and already on the front edge or whatever. And like doubtless those people are there too, but the main force seems to comprise a lot of people who just like saw the news and responded like Google how to make gun, you know.
It's so interesting.
Yeah, and then there's stuff we can discuss about like obviously you can't completely make a gun out of plastic, and you also need bullets. But other than that, like there is a popular design called the FGC-9 now, which is what the Myanmar fighters have been using. And basically all they need is a piece of steel pipe, and they can print the rest of the pieces, so long as they have like the right gauge of steel pipe.
Wow, for the barrel.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And they need I think the bolt and the hammer, but like everything basically. So there's an interesting thing in America and mainland Europe, but not the UK, that there is an available kit on Amazon that people kind of share around in the community of like people who design and redesign and iterate and like test 3D printed guns. There's like a kit on Amazon which is labeled as like wind chimes, and it's like when it arrives, it's actually just the parts that you can't print of a gun.
Oh, interesting.
And so in the case of Myanmar, it's a similar situation, only it's more like they just know which pieces they need, the kind of measurements of the pieces they need, and if they can access like a hardware supplier or whatever, like it's just like I say, it's a steel pipe and a bolt. It's not that complicated. And yeah, they've been fighting off the military junta to the point where the one of the states of Myanmar is kind of like not, I wouldn't say necessarily like in the people's control, but like the junta is actively losing power there, like really extremely. Yeah. And
the last one's pretty good.
Yeah, they also there has also been some speculation about whether they have manpads. Do you know about manpads? So manpads is an anti-air, like anti-missile and air piece of technology, which is like quite it's been quite important in Ukraine, and like so there's a lot of speculation about whether the revolutionary fighters in Myanmar have those now, because there was footage claiming to be of like I think it was a drone from the junta being just like shot down out of the sky.
Wow.
So like I say, like the tide could well be turning there. Like it's a difficult and hard struggle, and it's been going on a long time. But it's really interesting to watch, specifically from the point of view of like a lot of the time we ask the question, can a revolution be non-violent? And the answer is simply yes. Like simply there have been and can be non-violent revolutions, or revolutions that are not driven primarily by violence. But one of the more technical questions that is kind of wrapped up in that question is like, do you need the military to side with your ideological faction in order to win in a revolutionary struggle? And I think that Myanmar is answering that question no. And that's the kind of interesting thing that's going on in Myanmar right now. Yeah. Yeah, so that's Myanmar. And last piece of news.
Yep.
Greta Thunberg snubs climate conference COP27, saying that only overthrowing capitalism will stop climate change.
So many people got
And
mad
she's
from
right.
this. Yeah, she's right. She said this, but she said this, or at least something to this effect before. But now I guess she's explicitly saying it now. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, she's been kind of, she's been a great demonstration of somebody who does all the right things, plays by all the rules, and does so extremely
Yeah.
effective there's always this argument that like you just gotta like play by the establishment's rules, and if you fail it's because there's something you did, right? You can do better, you can knock on more doors, you can do X, Y, and Z. Greta Thunberg did all of that. She's an extraordinarily successful example of, in terms of like being successful via the system of being able to max out like your effectiveness working within the system. And she's demonstrated how useless it is, that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many people are behind you. It doesn't matter how much publicity you get, how well spoken you are, how much of a face of the youth you are. Like she's like very much like she's very much a young, I don't know what her age is, but I think she's a minor, right? So she's like a child.
Oh.
At least
She's 19.
She's 19 now. Okay, so when she started, she wasn't 19, but now,
Yeah.
I would still say 19 is pretty much a kid, right?
I think she was 14 when she started involving herself in activism.
Okay,
But I would agree that 19 is also very much a child.
Well, yeah, and plus, like she's been like I said, or you said, she's been doing this for quite some time, and she's demonstrates how like it doesn't matter. They don't care. They don't care if you're like extremely well spoken. They don't care if you are in fact like able to pull at their heartstrings. It doesn't matter, because that's not how this shit works at all. And so she's very correctly come to the conclusion that the only way that actually any change can happen is if we overthrow capitalism.
Yeah, and she's using the word overthrow as well. I think that's really quite like notable and quite significant.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's not talking about like we need to reform to a different system
or something.
There's a good reply. I'm just scrolling through the replies to this tweet now, and there's just Trinity asking Morpheus, what is she doing? And Morpheus saying, she's beginning to believe. And it's true. I mean, but it is just like really obvious, like you're seeing in real time the process of a really high profile activist figure, like just like you were just saying, Kira, like just trying the stuff that you're told is normal and acceptable and will change things a little bit, and getting no change out of it, and then trying a bit more of an extreme thing and getting no change out of it, and then trying a bit more of an extreme because it's the only option. You're left with progressively like only more extreme options.
Or you can just go, no, I'm going to die quietly. I'm sorry.
Right, which is
you.
exactly,
Many
exactly.
people,
But she's not gonna.
Right. She's refusing to, and she has every right to refuse to. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
We all do.
And so she's just like no, actually, we should just refuse to just die.
How dare she?
Yeah, it's powerful. It's good stuff.
It's really funny how like
I'd love to see it.
That is the underlying like expectation with all this. Like with any sort of resistance to the system, people can get on board with it. So many people love to be a part of like Black Lives Matter, right? They love to be a part of it. But like they expect that to like, okay, and now we're going to stop because that performance is over now. Like they expect you just, just die quietly. Just okay, I cared and now I don't want to have to care anymore. And like she's refusing to go down that path of just like just dying quietly and just like shutting up. And I don't know, she seems very, very cool.
Well, it reminds me of the Kwame Tour clip that I think you've shown on stream before, where Tour is talking about mobilizers and organizers, right? He's like, to be a good organizer, you have to be a good mobilizer. But some people are good mobilizers, but they're not good organizers. So Malcolm X was a good mobilizer, but wasn't a good organizer.
I always mix up what those two mean, by the way, even though I've seen the clip like a million times.
As in, like, mobilizers get people moving, get people in the street, get people to an event, but organizers create a structure which will challenge the systems of power. So he's using the examples of, like, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. He's like, Martin Luther King was a good mobilizer, but he wasn't a good organizer. Malcolm X was a good organizer. Like, when Martin Luther King went somewhere, he would give a speech and loads of people would show up because they'd be so excited to see him speak. But then he would leave and things would, like, not be the same, but like, like that there would just be that energy and nowhere for it to necessarily go. But when Malcolm X went somewhere, when he left, there was a church, like there was a mosque there was a church there. Like he created things as he went. And he used the example, it's like you're saying about like Black Lives Matter. Torres says in the clip, like, so many people say, or said at the time, contemporary to when he's speaking, like, were saying, like, I was at the Million Man March. I was there. I was at the march, you know? Like, because they have the sense that, like, there are historic moments and they matter so much. But what's happened to those people is they've just been part of mobilization, but they haven't been part of organization at all. So he's like, oh, that's cool. You were at the Million Man March. What have you been doing since? Like, where were you in the years since then, right?
What an
and it's exactly like that.
Oh, I love that parallel you just drew. That's such a great way, because like, how many boomers you know that like love to flex about like even their proximity to events that their generation was a part of, and then you see how like unbelievably reactionary they are. I'm like, those events were radical. Like, those are radical events. You like stepping foot in them, or knowing a person that was stepped foot in them. That's obvious. I mean, we know this, but the way you put it was so beautiful. Like, that doesn't accomplish anything. That doesn't leave a mosque or like spur further.
Right.
Like,
exactly.
You're not part of anything further. You're not part of like a greater system. You showed up to a party, maybe.
Yeah, and I think that like Thunberg is realizing that she has mobilized people before. She was the leader of the school strike for climate, right? She mobilized people to do big events, to do big actions, to like show that they cared about climate change, but then nothing happened. And then she, you know, was able to mobilize to the point where she gets like invited to speak in front of the UN, to speak in front of like COP25, I think it was, like it might have been a couple of years ago. And she gave this great speech where she was like, she said, like, if you put profits over human life, that would make you evil. But I refuse to believe that you are evil. I hope that I want to believe that you will change and you will do the right thing. But like, I think that's an amazing speech for its historic moment, because she was kind of saying it, and it was like, if they had responded to her saying that, right, if they've responded to this child being like, you don't show me you're evil, you know, by being like, well, we're not evil, so we will actually put human life above profit, then it would have been kind of a victorious moment for well-meaning cooperative liberal democracy or whatever. But instead, it's a very like Joker pilling moment where she's like, I refuse to believe you're evil, but if you're putting profit above human life, then you are evil. And now it's like however many years later, and look at that, they didn't change anything. I guess they're evil, actually. Yeah.
How to Blow Up a Pipeline talks about Greta, and I really like the way they talk about her.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean,
that book is great, by the way. It was a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Thank you for buying it for me.
It's a good book. I read it and I was like, okay, everyone else on Red Planet has to read this right now.
I recommend it to everyone. Even if you read, I read some of it to my chatters on stream when I was doing the communist girlfriend experience streams.
I remember that was really good.
Yeah, I need to bring those back. So a lot of the chat is like heard a lot of the book, and cool. it's a really like, if anything we're saying right now about this is registering to you, that book is like does such a great job of elaborating on this idea of like, you've going through the system and all this shit, it's not going to work, and it demonstrates very clearly why, and it demonstrates very clearly that like the inevitable reality then, therefore, I hate that it's the reality, but the inevitable reality is that like, it will necessarily lead to things outside of the system.
Yeah, I mean, so Malm, Andreas Malm, who wrote How to Blow Up a Pipeline, very much contributed to the ideological foundation of Red Planet, I think, because like that book is so clearly just like armed resist or unarmed resist, but violent resistance is kind of the point, like sabotage, mass unrest and resistance like comes out when every other option is like very clearly exhausted in the public consciousness.
It is just like, and it's like gravity, right? Like
absolutely.
This isn't something that is like us advocating for anything. This is literally just describing like how physics works on like a societal level.
Literally, literally, yeah. Um, and so, yeah, and so, I think that like that's like you said, they talk about Thunberg in the book, but now you're seeing her go through the process in real time.
Yeah.
Basically, she's like, no, we have to overthrow capitalism for us to survive at all. Yeah, and that's the news this week.
That's the
Hooray!
news. Can we get some claps in the chat for Sophie for carrying us through the news? And can we get some claps in the chat for me being like, like a reply guy? Thank you.
Well, it's lucky that the rest of the episode is me just relaxing and you doing all the talking.
Oh yeah.
It's lucky that I don't have to do. Oh wait, hang on a second. Oh no. So
Listen, if
okay,
I was
so here's
Armenia,
the intro.
I would talk about it, but I didn't.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
that's my
So I
contribution.
recently went to Armenia twice. I actually ended up spending a month of this year in Armenia. First for my girlfriend's surgery and recovery, and then for mine. And it was an educational experience. I went to the only feminist library in the Caucasus, and I chatted with Anna Nikogoshian, who runs that library, and also Lilith Martirosyan, who is the highest profile trans person in Armenia. She's one of the only trans people who is like out publicly, and she's like, a celebrity would be a strange way to describe someone who a lot of people want to kill. But she like spoke at the Armenian parliament, and yeah, she's the highest profile trans activist because I think she might be the only public trans activist in the country. I didn't just want for us to have like a longer discussion of the news today, like because this is my travelogue episode and it's not that much material or whatever. Like I wanted to talk about Haiti and Myanmar specifically because I wanted us to have a little bit more of like, let's all learn together about the political situation in different parts of the imperial periphery. Because I think Armenia is a really interesting example. And I think that like on Red Planet, we're trying to get people to understand the shape of power in the world, right? And we've got the broad stroke down. Like we've been very like hammering home about this, right? There's the Imperial Core and there's the Imperial Periphery, and the Imperial Core is basically doing imperialism, extracting value from everything in the Imperial Periphery, and has complete like this like totalizing power over it. But there is more to the picture than that. There is like more going on, and it's important understanding that first step so that we understand that when, for example, like Americans are saying like China is this big threat, it's like, no, it's not, because no, it's just not, because no country in the imperial periphery, even as populous and powerful a country as China, could pose a threat to the imperial core directly on its own. Now, I mean, together with other countries, that could be a different story, because like, what is it, like 86% of the population are in the imperial periphery? It's, yeah, absolutely. But but there is more to the kind of shape of power than that, and I think it's an interesting thing to discuss. Armenia, let's talk about it. One of the first things that we noticed the first time we were in Armenia was like, this seems like a small observation to begin with, and might come across a little bit snobby as well. But one of the first things we noticed was to do with like pollution. It was really striking how many cars were just putting out like black smog, which was really kind of troubling because like you kind of have to get cars everywhere. There's not that much developed public transport in Yerevan. You have to get like taxis to go everywhere. And because it's like essentially right in the Russian oil field, like gas prices are dirt cheap. So like it's I don't know, it's essentially like €2 to get like a taxi kind of anywhere, like from anywhere to anywhere in Yerevan. It's a very strange vibe. But also because there's not just petrol, but there's the other like byproduct. So you get a lot of like LPG powered cars, which is really weird. Like you'll get someone,
LPG?
like the taxi driver comes to take your luggage, like propane, basically.
Oh, okay.
The taxi driver comes to take your luggage and like opens up the trunk, and you can just see this huge like metal canister in the back of the car, and it's like, the fuck? And then like you go to sit down and sitting in the back seat, you can just smell like the smell of propane.
Wow.
There was like a lot of the car culture of Armenia was quite striking and quite bizarre. I remember like seeing a taxi that had these like this odd little patchwork of like plastered over bits that they hadn't bothered to repaint the same color as the car door, and it was just really obvious that they were bullet holes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, the thing about pollution was really strange because it was just suddenly striking that we like what kind of hit us immediately was we live inside the European low emission zone, right? The ULEZ, and like so what we're used to is like every car by law has to be fitted with a catalytic converter, and then like
Is this what it looked like, by the
instead
way?
suddenly we're in like what was that? Sorry.
Is this what it looked like, by the way? This
Oh,
thing?
that is precisely exactly what it
So
looks like.
funny. It is so funny. All right, sorry, go ahead. Please, I just want
So so like yeah, it was bizarre. It was really striking about the pollution because that kind of immediate thought is like, shit, how do we actually deal with climate change? because like the solution inside the EU has been to have this like low emission zone, right? And like make it so everyone who drives a car has to have a catalytic converter. But now we're outside there. We're way outside of the low emission zone. And just all of these cars just like throw out like black smog everywhere that we're going. And it's like I remember we were in traffic and we were behind a car that was just like chucking out black smog constantly, and we'd had the windows down because it was boiling hot, because the first time Leica and I went there it was the middle of the summer in Armenia, so it was like we were in the desert in the middle of the summer. And so we had the windows rolled down and it was just like all of the smoke was just coming in through the window. It was terrible. But it kind of it demonstrates a point that David Graeber makes. So if he's referencing Graeber, everyone take a drink. That there are kind of what he calls like anthropologically like cosmological formations, right? Like core and periphery relationships have this kind of relationship of like this shape of power, a little bit like a star system or a nebula, right? And in those kind of relationships, the saying is the superstructure exceeds the infrastructure. Like the superstructure, as in the ideological project, is bigger than the infrastructure. You can't actually like implement like infrastructural changes across the entire region, even though everyone in the region like allegedly kind of lives by your rule. Yeah. When we were talking about this, Leica showed me a really good short story by or kind of thought experiment essay short story by Franz Kafka, which is called An Imperial Message. And I'll just sum it up really quickly. Basically, the idea is the emperor has, imagine it's the old, I don't know, the old Roman Empire. It's whatever. It's the empire of whatever like fantasy world you want to construct. The emperor has a message for you, and you live right at the furthest edge of the empire, right? But his message for you is on his deathbed, and it's vitally important. The last thing he says is a message for you. So he says it to the messenger repeats it back. The emperor like nods to confirm that he got it right in front of a room full of witnesses who are there to like see the emperor on his deathbed, right? And he gives the messenger like has the symbol of the imperial sun, so like everyone knows that he is sanctioned and he's carrying this message, and no one should stand in his way. But the morning room is so dense with people, he has to basically swim through the crowd to try to get out. He's just like pushing his way, one arm after the other, and anyone who like stands in his way, he has to show them the imperial sun and be like, no, I have the right to go to pass through. But Kafka writes, if he gets out of that bedroom where the emperor is dying, and he never will, it's that thick with people, he then will get into the emperor's like broader chambers, and that's completely thick with people. And if he ever gets out of there, and he never will, he'll get into the castle grounds, and that's completely thick with people. And if he gets out of there, and he never will, he'll pass the first castle wall, And then there's still another castle wall and another castle beyond that, and outside of that there's the Imperial City, and it's all thick with people, and he'll be pushing through these crowds forever and ever and ever and ever. But you, waiting for this message, right on the furthest edge of the empire, this message means everything to you. And I think that's like the best way to conceptualize what it means when we say the superstructure exceeds the infrastructure. Like, you have to live under the emperor's law, but if the emperor literally wanted to like get a message to you on the edge of the empire, he couldn't do it. And in the same way, like, if tomorrow Joe Biden was like, we are going to stop climate change, the imperial structure of American imperialism wouldn't actually allow him to do it. Like, it's not just that, like, when we talk about like SocDems and liberals who are kind of talking as if like the Green New Deal or whatever will stop climate change, it's not just that they're naive because they don't get the scale of climate change and these policies are milquetoast and watered down and blah blah blah. It's that if these policies were as radical as they could possibly be, relying on the structure of imperialism, they wouldn't be able to implement them. Like, they literally wouldn't be able to be like, I don't know, for example, every car has to have a catalytic converter, or every car has to be electric, and all electric sources are going to change from fossil fuels to renewable energy, so all the cars will no longer emit because they'll be charging off of stations which go back to green energy. It would be like, how would America, supposing the American government was tomorrow entirely dedicated to making the world free of climate change? It couldn't do it. It couldn't make Armenia, for example, or China, or India, or like so many other places. It couldn't actually. Its reach is not like, doesn't work that way, Which I think, to turn the criticism back on us, like, I'm saying like SocDems and liberals are naive for thinking that, and they're not understanding how their own system of power works. But also, like, we sometimes say very simplistic things like Elon Musk could just end world hunger with the money that he has. And obviously, like, it's a very valid and correct criticism to say that, like, with the money that he has, Elon Musk could actually make the world a better place and chooses not to. But he couldn't, like, end world hunger. Like, again, the systems of power that are in place wouldn't actually allow him to do that. And the thing that would, like, end world hunger is an end of property. Like, the thing that stands in the way of people getting food isn't like them not paying for the food, so you need to get them the money to then pay for the food. It's that other people pretend as if owning things means anything. They pretend as if this food is mine and not yours.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the whole system, you know?
Yeah.
And that's why, like, in many senses, believing in unrest, uprising, and revolution is much more realistic than believing in structural change, because in terms of changing things rapidly enough to stop climate change, and this is again Malm and Wainwright and Mann and others have said, like, the thing that is needed to stop climate change is a revolution of mythic proportions. Like, in factual terms, that's the thing that could stop climate change. And Greta Thunberg as well is catching on to this now. So that was kind of the first thing that struck us. It was just a very strong moment of, like, we are in the imperial periphery. Like, we truly are. The things that we are used to are not there, and not like, in just
things like the pollution you saw. Was that that was one of the things? But what are the other things that made you feel like this was the imperial periphery?
Well, like, this isn't to cast people in the imperial periphery to have some kind of specific culture or cultural tendency, but like, homophobia and transphobia took a very specific and interesting form, and like, it was very apparent very quickly we were in a country that, like, only legalized being gay, to be clear, not gay marriage or whatever, like, stopped it being a crime to be gay, like, in the last 5 years. And it was very, like, culturally clear that was the case. But also, like, when we talk about, the reach that the ideological superstructure has, like, the kind of homophobia and transphobia wasn't the same either. Like, there were a lot of people who were shitty to us. Like, when I was there for when we were there for my surgery, like, I was threatened by guys with bats twice. Or I should say, they tried to threaten me. But, like, both times that we were there were also like loads of people who were kind of fascinated by us. They found us to be like really interesting and exciting new things that they hadn't seen before. And that's something that like when we experience transphobia in the UK, it has a set of talking points and it has a set of like cultural references, and it might be wearing an I love JK Rowling t-shirt and it's putting up adult human female stickers in my neighborhood. You know, it has a really specific flavor to it. And like so much of the conservatism is in like so much of the homophobia, transphobia is in like broad strokes. You know, it's just in these broad strokes of like these people are perverts, they're degenerates or whatever. It's not so specifically narrowed down in that way. And that was a very interesting and bizarre thing to see. When I spoke to Anna from the feminist library, she said that they this is a really interesting thing actually. So when we spoke to Anna from the feminist library, she said that their library has had to move 3 or 4 times because their neighbors, wherever they've been, keep on finding out that they have a feminist library that has like intersectional literature, it has black feminist literature, it has queer literature, and then that's the sticking point that they're like particularly fucked off by, right? And they kick up a fuss and say that they're spreading perversion is the specific charge they keep on getting. And so like they've been targeted by their neighbors, but not like in direct attacks, but their neighbors will like call up the police and say that they are spreading perversion, and then like the police will come and like investigate the library basically.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's really fucked.
Wow. Sorry, I threw you off. I asked you last because you mentioned that like, oh, you felt like, wow, we actually are really much like we're in the imperial periphery. That's
oh yeah, totally.
Your story.
Yeah, I mean, so this was again the first time that we went there, and there's a very interesting difference to the second time that we went there. But the first time that we went there, one of the most striking things was like we're not just in the imperial periphery; we're specifically in the Russian sphere of influence.
Huh?
Because like there was reporting on the war in Ukraine, right? And we're all used to this. There's newspapers, and they'll have like whatever today's headlines are, and there'll be a little like thing up in the corner that's like the Ukrainian flag, and like return to this page to read updates about only it was the Russian flag. Like we would be going into like a newsagents or whatever, and it's exactly the same looking newspaper, only that specific bit like is a Russian flag instead.
LOL Russian flag in bio.
Yeah. yeah. And that was really bizarre because on the second time that we were there, I went to this really interesting Q&A at a bar called TUF bar. Like I think their account on Instagram is like Tough Tush. And they're so it was a really interesting bar because the first time that we went there, it was about 95% Russian defectors, like Russian draft dodgers. Like it was noticeably, like palpably, like loads of young Russian dudes who had fled into Armenia because they were on the draft.
Wow.
But like before people get the wrong impression of kind of them as impoverished refugees, specifically the guys who get to dodge the draft by like going to Armenia, they were quite like middle class. Like there was a lot of people who like they had a bunch of savings so they could move out to Armenia, or their job, like when they told their boss that they were on the draft, their company moved them to Armenia while they're waiting to relocate them and stuff like that. Like it was from a certain amount of privilege. So it's like they were refugees, but they weren't like, yeah. It was very strange. But when I went there, yeah, I don't know. It was weird talking to them actually. Like I was pointing this out in chat. Like a lot of the guys when you talk to them, they would just be like, "I don't know what's going on. I don't I don't know what's going to happen. Where am I going now? Who knows? It's a very strange vibe. But yeah, I went back to that bar. Nat and I went back to that bar to just like hang out, and it turned out there was an event going on there, and it was this Q&A session. Kind of imagine a TED Talk. Hang on a second. I know the guy I should bring up to evoke this guy. There's a guy in the West Wing. Do you know like the older guy in the West Wing? Hang on a second. Am I thinking of the right guy?
I'm sorry, Marxist.
Am I thinking of the wrong like liberal show? I think I might be thinking of the wrong liberal show entirely. Uh, what's the show? Yes, yes, I'm narrowing in on it. The old guy in Homeland. He had that exact vibe. You know the guy with the like white, like black and white beard in Homeland, the older guy. Is he
I
called
don't.
Seth something?
Sheen. Someone's is it Sheen?
No, 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 no. They're thinking of the president in West Wing. I got completely the wrong guy. Um. Bup, 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 bup. No, I'm fucking this up. I'm fucking this up. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Mandy Patinkin. That's exactly who I was thinking of. Thank you, Nat. Um, the guy who was giving the Q&A talk at the bar, he had the vibe of Mandy Patinkin, and like
I don't even know
he was a guy who like so he was working with the Armenian government now, but he had been working in Washington D.C. Right, so he had a really interesting perspective. Like, from what I've just said, it would sound like this guy is kind of just like an awful wonk, right? Like an awful liberal. But he had a really interesting kind of perspective in giving this Q&A. So,
This guy was in West Wing.
no, 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 no. I'm saying he had the vibe.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you.
He had a West Wing vibe.
Got it.
I was very concerned he was going to be one of the most awful possible kind of Hillary Clinton Democrats, but he was like oddly based in kind of pockets, right? So he used to work in DC, and he moved to Armenia. He's like ethnically Armenian. I think that I don't know if he was originally born in Armenia, but he's very concerned with like the diaspora, because Armenia has a population of 3 million, but there are, I think, like 8 million Armenians in the world. Like the majority of Armenians are not in Armenia. And so he has this like kind of preoccupation with like what the Armenian diaspora could do to like help Armenia the country and Armenia the culture to thrive more. And also like he works with the Armenian government now, and he used to work with the American government, and so he has a very interesting perspective on like international politics. And his Q&A made it really obvious that like to say that Armenia is just in the Russian sphere of influence would be missing a lot, right? Thank you. Yes, this is the guy whose vibe I was trying to evoke. He had this vibe. Anyway,
I'm so confused.
anyway, he this guy, I wish I could remember his name. I think it was Richard something. I'm sorry this is such a like a details light anecdote. So it was really interesting talking to him because he was like I've lost it. I'll be 1 second. Right. You know, I said that when we came the first time, Leica and I were noticing how rather than Ukraine flags for reporting on the Ukraine war, like the invasion of Ukraine, there were Russian flags. And we were like, oh shit, we're in the Russian sphere of influence. Well, when we came the second time, all the places that there had been Russian flags, there were noticeably no Russian flags and suddenly American flags everywhere. Like when we came for my surgery.
Weird.
Yeah, it was really fucking weird, right? It was like, what happened
there was
in
not
the like
a lot of time
2 months
between
while we were
those.
away?
Right. Yeah.
No, our surgery dates were exactly 2 months apart, right? So it was very strange, right? And then we found out just after landing that Nancy Pelosi was coming for a visit, right? And it was like, and so we knew flying in the second time around that Armenia was experiencing border skirmishes with Azerbaijan, right? This has been a thing, and we'll get to that in a second. But Armenia has been subject to aggression from Azerbaijan, and Nancy Pelosi went there to like see if America would help, see if America could like offer something. And that was kind of a big focus of this guy's talk at the Tough Bar. He was talking about like Armenia's position isn't that they just are in the Russian sphere of influence and just like take like power and resources that Russia gives them. They're not just a puppet state to Russia, but they don't want to be that for America either, and they don't want to be that for, you know, Iran or Turkey or any other like large neighbor or large player on the global stage. They want to get to like maintain their independence. And so a kind of conscious thing that they do is like accept some of the resources that are offered by larger powers, but like multiple different sources at once. So this like noticeable thing where the Russian flags had gone down and the American flags had come up, it was kind of deliberate move where they were like, yeah, America, in order to not be too much like, yeah, Russia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a very like, and I think that paints a picture of what like talking to people about politics in Armenia was like, because it was very much like that. Like you can find, broadly speaking, like nuanced takes on just about any 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 like large global power or political situation when talking to people about politics in Armenia, because they have this like I say, this perspective where they're trying to like navigate between these big powers without being beholden to any of them
Yeah,
completely.
yeah.
Really interesting. That said, the one situation I heard no nuance on, and it's unsurprisingly, was Azerbaijan. Like obviously they weren't, no one had any kind of like nuanced take to offer on the Aliyevs and the the invasion from Azerbaijan, because it just sucks. It's just bad.
Mm.
Yeah, but the Q&A was really interesting, and the guy was talking also about like, obviously, like I'm not in favor of you know, state militaries, right? So it was an interesting talk to hear a guy who is concerned with the defense of his country, which is a very small country, which in the last like 200 to 1,000 years has only been getting smaller and smaller. Like, obviously he has a lot of perspectives on how to build up military power and like get more weapons and get more funding for the military and stuff. And I'm obviously like not in favor of that in broad strokes, but like it was very understandable that he was concerned with that, right? One thing he was saying, which I found very funny, was just like, he he was like, I would like if we got drones. If Iran was going to offer us anything, I would like if we got drones from Iran, but not from America. Like America's offered us drones, and I don't think we should take the American drones. We should take the Chinese knockoff drones, which Iran has, which are identical but just much cheaper because they're made in China.
Oh my God.
I just thought it was very funny.
Wow.
But again, like, you know, I mean, fuck the military. I'm not like, yeah, I don't know. It was very strange. Yes, okay. I'm glad that she's posted this. Like, it's just linked to the map of Greater Armenia. So this was something that we saw in the underground system. There is not much public transport in Armenia, but in Yerevan there is like a single metro line. Like you can ride 8 stops on one line. That's it. And in one of the stations, there's this like map on just by the escalators of Greater Armenia, and I don't know if you're familiar with what Armenia looks like on a map in the real world. This is a very old map. This is maybe like the idea of Greater Armenia, the idea of like the Kingdom of Armenia that they're evoking with this map is like maybe 1,500 years out of date. Like it's not been that size in a very 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 long time. So it's like, again, it's been a shrinking nation and a shrinking culture for a really long time, and like as I said before, like most Armenians, the vast majority of Armenians in the world are outside of Armenia. There is a lot of there's a huge Armenian diaspora in America specifically, actually. Yeah. There was a lot of back and forth in the Q&A about like about American help, like you know, help from America, and I think that we'd probably be familiar with a lot of the talking points of that, like a lot of the kind of the worries and the traps and the pitfalls of it. One thing I found very funny was that someone asked a question about whether Britain would offer any aid to Armenia with the Azerbaijani aggression, and the guy was just like, "Yeah, Britain's not really." Just not really a player on the global stage. They're just kind of shrinking. They're not really helping anyone.
Oh no.
Or doing any of that stuff anymore. And it is true. Like it is a real thing that like our ruling class are torn between like imperialists who are the very like minority faction and don't hold much sway in our politics now, and like these isolationists who are like who are like foreign aid is good insofar that we can use it to manipulate other countries, but otherwise it doesn't do anything for us. So I don't want to give it money. I don't want to give money to refugees and brown people. So we shouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, yeah, Britain's fucked anyway. Sorry. When it got round to me asking a question at the Q&A, I asked him about American foreign aid, and I said, like, aren't you concerned about actually, I asked two questions, but I'll get to the other one in a second, because it has to do with Azerbaijan. Aren't you concerned about structural adjustment policies, right? So for those who aren't familiar, structural adjustment with loans from the World Bank, from the IMF, from American finance institutions, right, are this set of policies where basically they insist you have to structure your economy in like the worst like neoliberal capitalist way, which will absolutely just like ruin your economy and open it up for like extraction by America is the conscious like point of the plan. Because if you're in like the free market, then that basically means selling things to the most rich country on earth for less than you deserve. Mm. And so that's like how many countries have been completely fucked over by structural adjustment, which is like structural adjustment policies are required before the IMF or the World Bank or whatever will give you a loan. A famous example would be that Nelson Mandela, who was a communist, had an entire like platform of communist policies that he was willing and ready to enact. But when he came to power, the previous administration had legally divorced the Central Bank of South Africa from the government. So he couldn't use any government money to do anything. So he couldn't enact any of his policies. And so like where he was planning to like nationalize all of the mines in South Africa and make like South African people like reap the benefits of their own land's like wealth, he just wasn't allowed to because it wasn't in the structural adjustment policies. You know, instead it had to all be like public-private partnerships and opening up to the free market and all this shit. Yeah. So.
Jeez.
Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent.
I never like really knew the ins and outs of like how I know the IMF like, you know, does what they do to control countries and to maintain neoliberalism, but like, yeah. I never like really understood or knew anything more about like literally what do they do though? Like literally how do they maintain this? How do they
if you want a great book to read about it, The Shock Doctrine by Naomi Klein is probably the singular best resource you can read about it.
There's so much good stuff about that book and I haven't read it.
It's something that you will like read 5 pages and then like take a little break. Like I remember the first break I took from that book was literally like 5 pages in. I read that there is a subway at Guantanamo Bay and I was just like, I need to put this book down for a minute and take a breath before I carry on.
Oy.
You know? Anyway. Yeah, so that is how the IMF works, is that they're like, we have all the money in the world, and they literally do. They have all the money in the world. And we can give it to you, we can give you the loan, but only if you implement these structural adjustment policies. And then those structural adjustment policies will just like relentlessly fuck your economy into the dirt and screw over your people forever. And that's the point of them. That's literally what they are for. And it's the only way you can get the money. And if you like take the money and try to do anything else, you will find yourself quite invaded. Anyway, so I asked him, aren't you worried about structural adjustment policies? And he kind of lit up when I asked that. Like, it was clear that, like...
He was happy someone mentioned it?
Yeah, like, I had been worried, like I said, this guy's a wonk. He's going to be a liberal. Like, he's worked in Washington, D.C. He's going to be the worst kind of, like, technocratic liberal. And I think he's a bit of a technocrat, but I think that, like, that moment I asked him about structural adjustment policies, he was actively excited to talk about it because he wanted to get across this point that I've been making, that like Armenia doesn't want to be beholden to neoliberal, neoliberalism. Like it doesn't want to be part of the web of American imperialism. It doesn't want to be a Russian puppet state. It doesn't want to be any of these things. It wants to be Armenia. And it's all a balance of power to do that, right? And I think that, to use another kind of corollary, when we spoke to Lilith Martirosyan, the transgender activist in Yerevan, she has founded this like amazing like resource, safe space, hangout place for queer people in Yerevan, and like she did it with money from the Dutch government. And as an anti-imperialist, you might be like, well, that's money from the imperialists, so isn't it bad? But it's like, if you're in the imperial periphery and you can get the money and there aren't these kind of stipulations on it that will make you act in a certain way, you should absolutely take whatever money you can be given. Yeah.
Money will have to be acquired in some way, shape, or form. It will have
Right,
to be.
exactly. And if there are the stipulations on it, like structural adjustment policies, then it's literally not worth it. But like, if it's a fund from the Dutch government to make a safe space for queer people in a very, very, very homophobic country, that's good. That's just a good thing. I have Lilith's contact, by the way, and I hope that at some point we could maybe have her on the show to talk about like specifically the issues of trans people in Armenia. I think that would be really cool.
Oh wow.
It was a good meeting. She was very, very cool person. But what was I saying about? I've got notes. I'm going to go back to the notes. Right. Let's talk about the Nagorno-Karabakh a little bit. So if we look at, Kira, could you pull up a map of Armenia as it is now?
Sure.
Okay. So if we look at Armenia as it is now, it's quite noticeable. There is like a strip to the south, and then there is like Azerbaijan on one side and Azerbaijan on the other side, and it's kind of weird. It looks like Armenia is like bisecting Azerbaijan.
So Azerbaijan here.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Sorry, you can't see what I'm doing. Here, you can't see that either.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you see it. all my tricks aren't working right now. Okay, you see it. Yeah. You see it, chat. Witness.
There's two bits of Azerbaijan there, right, and then there's Armenia, and so like the bit to the west is called the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic. It's very much just part of the Republic of Azerbaijan. There's a guy there there's a guy in charge of that sector of Azerbaijan called Talibov, and he is broadly criticized even by Azerbaijanis for just being part of, how to explain. So the Aliyev dynasty or family or however you want to describe it, who like are in charge of Azerbaijan and have been for a long time, are like deeply in with organized crime families and also like used to be KGB. So Azerbaijan is one of the places where like the worst like apparatchik corruption KGB nonsense of the USSR really like set in. And a big part of Armenia used to just be Azerbaijan under the USSR. Like the structure of the USSR was that it was one country in one sense, but in another it was the United Socialist Soviet Republics, right? So it was each like Soviet Socialist Republic had its own territory that it recognized, and the borders of these were drawn up by Stalin, who famously was a great dude who made no mistakes. And after the fall of the Soviet Union, there was like an immediate kind of like immediately there was conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan as soon as the Soviet Union fell, because like the Nagorno-Karabakh, which is that strip down the middle, but also kind of 100 miles to the east of it as well, right? Like that strip down the middle you can see where Armenia seems to have like taken a big chunk out of Azerbaijan. That's the Nagorno-Karabakh, but like the whole southern region around it is like Armenia has a very legitimate claim to that region. The reason that I wouldn't say that it has a legitimate claim to the Nakhchivan Autonomous Republic, the little bit of Azerbaijan to the west there, is that like although it used to be Armenian and there used to be a lot of Armenian people there, like they have just kind of left. It's almost entirely Azerbaijani there now with like some Russians. But like with the situation of Azerbaijan, where the government is just this long legacy of like hyper corrupt KGB, like KGB/mafia guys, like uh, the aggression from Azerbaijan against Armenia is kind of politically very uncomplicated. It's just power hungry dickheads who are trying to steal land. Like it's not really like it's worth having a lot of nuance in all sorts of global political discussions, but like the layers down to which you can go into the like the Nagorno-Karabakh history and conflict and only see again and again and again that like Azerbaijan have just kind of been dickheads the whole time. Yeah. So there's a kind of really weird thing about the shrinking nature of Armenia is that like its national monuments include like some famous monasteries, and there's a thing called the Artsakh, which is this like absolutely ancient like temple, and they're actually in the Nagorno-Karabakh eastern region that is to the east of that border. So like they are legally in Azerbaijan, right? Very similarly, like the number one like national symbol of Armenia is Mount Ararat, which is the tallest mountain in the Caucasus and is like mythically is where Noah landed the Ark, right? Like you can see it anywhere in Armenia. Like anywhere you are in Armenia, you can see Mount Ararat because it's fucking huge. But it's in Turkey because of the Armenian genocide. Like when Turkey like invaded and killed a bunch of Armenians and like they took the mountain. Like Armenia has been the subject of just like a ton of like really horrible aggressions. It could be compared to like, it doesn't have the wider, broader context of like political and historic anti-Semitism, but like the way that Armenians have been treated by a lot of their neighbors who have persecuted them and invaded them and shrunk their state and taken things from them, like has a kind of similar relationship in terms of like ethnic minorities to Jews, because like the Armenians in Turkey before the Armenian genocide, a lot of them were like noticeably middle class, and there was a lot of rhetoric among Turks that like they were, that they were like somehow stealing the wealth or whatever. It's very like I say, it's very, very comparable to like anti-Semitic tropes. It just doesn't have the broader historic like
interesting
same kind of context, but like. Yeah,
fascism isn't very
there is a
creative.
Comparison to be made there.
It seems.
No, I mean absolutely, yeah. Like fascism has one or two tricks, and it pulls them over and over again. Shout out again to Leica in the chat, who's dropping resources for us here. Yeah, so that's Mount Ararat. It's stunning. I mean, it's one of the things that I will say. Like throughout talking about Armenia, I would say that it's very mixed, and there are like some things that I like deeply miss about Armenia, and there are other things that I'm so glad to be away from. And like seeing the mountain is one of the things I miss. It's just stunning. Like, and as I said, you can see it from just anywhere in Armenia. It's huge and it's beautiful, and like it's because it's so far away but so large. Often you can't quite see it during the day. Like it kind of fades out against the sky, but it's most visible at the sunrise and the sunset when there's like kind of angular light hitting it, and it's just. I don't know. It's quite magical. It's really nice. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just appreciating Mount Ararat right now. When I say about it being like the this national symbol, right? It's really everywhere. Like Armenia has Ararat cigarettes, Ararat brandy, Ararat vodka, Ararat water, Ararat juice. Like it has so many brands that are named after Mount Ararat, and so much of its iconography will just be like the shape of the mountain as a logo for something, and it's not, it's in Turkey because of the genocide and the invasion. There is like there's a very strange like I don't know, strange kind of cultural sadness to Armenia, I guess, which is just present there,
Ararat. I don't know how you're saying this word. Armenian
Ararat.
brand Ararat. I can't do it. Wow, these the cigarettes too. That's so interesting.
Leica and I wrote some poetry both times that we were there, and one of the things that we wrote in one of them was like Ararat brandy, Ararat cigarettes, Ararat whiskey, Ararat water, everything but the mountain. Right?
Oh,
It's a
wow.
very like it's
Interesting. It's really sad.
yeah, I don't know. It's a strange it's a strange place. Um,
Trans Salamander says, I was raised as a creationist, which is very cringe of my mom, but I know the name
oh
Mount
wow.
Ararat because proof Noah was real. I still don't understand how this is like an off topic probably from the story, but like, or, you know, your recollection of Armenia, but like, I don't get how like there's a mountain and then no, that means Noah. Is there like a
Well,
really
so
quick TLDR in this?
if you bring up the picture of the mountain again, I can actually quickly explain this.
Okay.
The Caucasus are a very tall mountain range. Like they're quite tall. But if you look at Mount Ararat next to the next tallest mountain there to the left, right, you can see that you could easily like flood the entire world, right, up to quite a high degree, and there would just be like you could have a little island there that would be safe,
Okay.
and absolutely everything would be completely gone. I'm not saying that's proof Noah was real.
Wait,
I'm
it's
not,
just
you
'cause
know,
there's
I haven't done the
mountains?
Bible study, I
Is
guess.
that literally is just because there's mountains? There's mountains, therefore that's proof that there was a flood? Wait,
The study,
what?
the biblical literal study of scripture is very complex and high level and does involve understanding the secrets of the pyramid. You don't. I don't think we have time to get into it on the
No
stream
problem. I
right
just
now.
didn't know if there was a quick answer or not. I feel like I just need to look into this because I would love to know if Noah was real. Personally.
I will say this as a brief tangent. In Jewish scripture or in Jewish rabbinical study, there's a really interesting thing about Noah, which is that everyone God appeared to argued with God until Noah. Everyone God appeared to, God was basically testing them, was saying something like horrible that they were basically meant to go like, no, fuck you. Like think of is it Jacob like being asked to like sacrifice his son, right? And then he was willing to do it, but then like God was like, you shouldn't be like happy to sacrifice your son. Like
That's
similar,
such a dick.
like similar. Yeah, I know. God sucks.
He sucks so hard. Abraham? Oh yeah. Whatever.
Abraham. I'm sorry. Yeah. But the point of God appearing to people in one school of thought of rabbinical study is a chance for like theological debate. You are supposed to argue with God. You are supposed to not just go along with what God says. And God says the world is fucked. There's nothing we could do to change the world and make it better. So I'm just gonna kill everyone on the planet. And Noah is like, cool, bro. I'll build a boat. It's like, no, like Noah was a fucking like dickhead. Like it's not. That's not what you're supposed to do. Anyway,
Noah famously thought of boats. No one else thought of boats, by the way.
yeah, true. So yeah, the conflict with Nagorno-Karabakh is interesting. I think that there's one thing I want to touch on, which is Armenia flag in bio. So a lot of like Western commentators, when the Azerbaijani aggression began, immediately put the Armenian flag in their like username or bio, and I find this cringe. Now let me explain. I have said already that I think that like the Azerbaijani aggression is uncomplicated and just like this bunch of like KGB hyper corrupt apparatchiks being just like disgusting. I don't have an issue with like showing support for Azerbaijan. Sorry, shit, I do.
Sure.
with showing support for
Armenia.
Armenia was what I meant to say.
Yeah.
The opposite. I don't have a problem with showing support for Armenia, but it's this entirely like hollow gesture, and it specifically is in the context that like tons of people put the Ukrainian flag in their username or their bio, right, to support Ukraine after the Russian invasion. And so as a response to like, oh, there's another thing happening in the former Soviet Union with an aggressor and a poor innocent country, and I'll show my support by doing Armenian flag in bio. And it's like it was just, to me, it was just very consciously like a lot of like leftists on Twitter being like, we care about Armenia, but like they don't, it's not real. It's just like,
I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with putting flag in bio, but I think
that's why I'm using the word cringe. I don't think it's a bad thing to do. I just found it embarrassing.
I don't think, yeah, you're right. I don't think it's, I don't even think it's inherently embarrassing. I mean, I think there can be legitimate reasons to put flag in bio, but like, this is my personal opinion, but like, by and large, it's going to be a performative liberal gesture
Absolutely,
that people feel so like, they feel so validated in their own like idea of their own activism when they throw it in there. And therefore they also coincidentally have like the most insufferable personalities. That's my take.
It's like yeah.
By the way, this is the Armenian flag. I didn't know what it looked like, so.
Well, now you know. I know. Yeah, it's like I'm standing up for the little guy. It's like, no, you're not. You're tweeting. What the fuck are you talking? You know, you're streaming or whatever. Like, I don't have any pretensions that right now what we are doing is like meaningfully like good for Armenia and like helping Armenia.
Although you can make Eli Lilly lose billions of dollars.
True. Yeah, it turns out posting can be praxis, but like.
Just to muddy the waters just a little bit.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting and strange country and culture. There are things like there's a 200-foot statue, right, which stands on the kind of the cliff that overlooks most of Yerevan, and this 200-foot statue is Mother Armenia, and she's just a big buff lady with a sword. So I'm a fan. But she used to be Joseph Stalin, like they. So like in the Soviet Union, that statue was a 200-foot Joseph Stalin. And then when Armenia had a nationalist revolution after the collapse of the Soviet Union, and they had all these like nationalists who were like sort of declaring Armenian identity and Armenian culture, not to be like, it's always worth making this distinction. Nationalism in the imperial periphery has a fundamentally different character to nationalism in the imperial core. Like nationalism of Americans, nationalism of Brits, right? Is just is it? Yeah. Sorry, Leica's put in the chat. She transitioned. Don't dead name.
I was gonna say this is just.
I'm
like
sorry.
One
You're
big
right. You are right.
Gender story, and
you are right. I thought Josephine Stalin, Mother Armenia. They shaved off her mustache and gave her tits and a dress and a big sword, and she's happier now. And that's the trans healthcare we're all asking for, is a big sword. But it's very interesting to, like I say, like observe the process of like de-Sovietification that like countries like Armenia are still in the midst of, taking statues that were, for example, were Stalin, for example, and like changing them to something else. I mean, that obviously was done a long time ago, but there are still statues there now. Like while we were there the first time, we saw a statue that was being changed that was Soviet, and then when we came back the second time, it had been changed, and now it's like a nationalist monument.
Is there like a rock shortage? Like they have to we have to keep this same statue? Are they replacing the statue completely, or is this like a morphing of the same rock?
No, they changed the statue. It's very strange. It's you have to there are just. It's not a rock shortage, but it is.
I'm thinking of someone like just
sometimes
chipping
easier
away,
to
like chipping in some like tits and stuff on Joseph Stalin, and I'm wondering if that happened.
Yeah,
sorry, Josephine.
Yeah, it's just very interesting. Like I say, I mean, I think I'm just saying a million times in the stream that Armenia is very interesting, but I like to see a cultural sort of like tide. We're used to the idea of a cultural tide being like it's one way and it's a wave that's happening right now, this big shift. But to see a place that is culturally tidal, like it's constantly like coming and going, like there's this constant flux and change, and you can see all the like layers of difference that have existed there, and they've all left their marks and are still kind of there, Is Armenia pro-trans? Laughably no. No. Extremely no. I experienced so many hate crimes. I hope that answers your question. We were denied service a bunch of times. More than once, a restaurant wouldn't let us in. A ton of times, taxi drivers wouldn't take us. One time when we were trying to get some food and then get down to the center of town for something else we had to do, Leica tried to go to like a chicken shop and they just wouldn't serve her. And then while we were trying to get a taxi waiting on the side of the road, not even a taxi driver, just a random driver, like flipped us off. Like just drove by and just flipped us off in the street. Um, yeah. This is fucked up. Like I was saying, I met one trans girl in public. She actively didn't want to be seen talking to another doll and told me to go away. Yeah, the vibe is bad. It's a bad time. And I think that, it's worth commenting on whenever I talk about this, that like we had to go to Armenia that is this hostile to trans people because because the NHS doesn't offer facial feminization surgery, because cis people don't want us to see ourselves when we look in the mirror. They want us to conform to like a sexual standard instead. They the only healthcare they're willing to offer is based on like outdated and completely unhinged like sexology stuff. Anyway. So what else is there to talk about? There's an interesting like we spent a lot of time at the antiques market until I got threatened with a bat there, and then we didn't go back.
Oh my god.
No, it was bizarre. Like the both times that I was threatened with bats, the guy doing it was like a 20-year-old twink, like a tiny little beanpole man, and it was just like, this isn't going anywhere. You're not gonna like.
How weird.
Like, it was clearly born out of like so much insecurity. And the second time that it happened, like I say, at the antiques market, it was while we were at the weapons stall. Like we were checking out like switchblades, and like this guy had this like collapsible truncheon that he was like trying to be menacing with towards me. I didn't even understand that was what he was doing for the first few minutes of it, because I was just like, is he just posing? Is he just like trying to scratch his back? I don't get it. And then, like, it was only kind of when his friend kind of pulled him away to like cool off and go for a little walk until the transgenders left, that I was like, oh, that was definitely what that was. But looking back on it, I was just like, I was like, while he was trying to do this, I was just browsing, the stalls, but like while he was doing this, I had a massive knife in each hand. Like, it wouldn't have gone well for him to try this, It was so bizarre. It was just so bizarre.
And then Dr. Kilgood said literally got hate crime by Airbnb before they were even in the country. That's right. That was ridiculous.
That is true. Yeah. Yeah, no. This anecdote will only really serve to compound that. Yes, it's a very conservative, very homophobic country. So basically, we had booked an Airbnb. We had put down like, what the fuck was it? Like $3,200 already. Because we were staying there for 3 weeks. We needed an apartment for 3 people. And the guy had accepted our booking, but then I guess he looked at my profile and he saw my like profile picture on WhatsApp, and he asked me like, are you boys or girls? And I was like, it's all girls staying. We're traveling for a medical thing, so we're not going to be like partying or anything, don't worry. And he was like, no transgender gays. And then he tried like, then because I didn't like answer him because I was just utterly in shock, and he wanted to prove that he wanted to confirm his suspicion. He tried to like video call me, which I find such a weird, I find such kind of an odd and almost funny move, because like, if I had been cis and he was trying to video call me, and then I had like picked up the call and been a cis person, of whichever gender, and he had been like, oh, you're not a transgender gay, never mind. Like, does he imagine that after doing that, like after being like, no transgender gays, and then like forcing, like insisting on video calling, like like then that cis person would be like, cool, I want to stay at this guy's house, he seems like a safe and balanced individual. But yeah, I mean, so basically he then like he insisted like no transgenders allowed, and we spent most of the rest of the week like calling Airbnb Customer support, hearing their hold music a million times.
What did they tell you
Here's a
initially?
fun.
Did they just try to get rid of you? Or how did that work?
Oh, they tried to fob us off so fucking much,
So you kept calling
babe.
over and over and
They
over
spent
again?
such a long time just trying to fob us off and just trying to close the issue and like ignore it and like not do anything. It was so egregious. Fun fact about the hold music for Airbnb: it's a specific track by an indie band, and it is 3 minutes long. And so they can't just leave it to loop. They can't just like put you on hold and go away. After 2 minutes and 50 seconds, the call operator has to put you off hold and go, "I'm sorry, but I have to put you on hold again. Is that okay?" And you have to go, "Yes," because you have no other option but to say, "Yes, it's okay," because you're planning to wait for them to be off hold anyway, like, for however long it was going to take. And then they go, "Okay," click, and then the song starts over again for the next 2 minutes, 50 seconds until they have to, like, do it again. It was fucking ridiculous. Eventually, I think that Airbnb noticed the thread that I made on Twitter, which had, like, 20,000 likes or whatever, and they got embarrassed. So they, like I was saying, I had to call them 15 times in one day. Yeah, it was a ridiculous time.
And they gave you a better place, thank God. Right? Hopefully.
Yeah. No, so yeah, so what happened then was we actually got a place for free that was the most expensive place in the whole of Armenia, because they were like, "We will, if you pick a place and you confirm with the host, and we'll confirm with the host as well, we will pay for the entire thing."
So you found the most expensive one.
So we deliberately picked the most expensive, just most absurd place, and it was like right in the middle of the city, and it was actually across the road from an LGBT friendly bar, so that was nice. And there was like quite a nice cafe downstairs with a guy who wanted to talk to us about football all the time because we were British. And I don't know, it ended up being quite sweet in that way. I still did get hate crimed on that street. Some teenagers threw a cup full of ice, like an empty like iced coffee, like at me from down the street, because I'd been hanging out, like doing some work I needed to do for that day, and like just listening to music, and they had like clearly gotten off school, and they like tried to get my attention a whole bunch because weird thing TERFs don't seem to be able to grasp: trans women just experience harassment like women. A bunch of weird teenage boys who've noticed you and can't get your attention because you're on headphones and willfully ignoring them, just come up and like try to get your attention and stand inappropriately close and like make loud noises to try to get you to look at them. Women in general can relate to this experience. It's not, it's exactly the same kind of misogynistic harassment everyone experiences. And then after they couldn't get me to like engage with them, they threw a cup of ice at me. It didn't hit me. It did piss me off. I was quite fucked up about it, but yeah, it was a time. Yeah. Let me see if I've got another.
So in short, not great for queer rights.
No, it sucks. I mean, it will be better in about 10 years or whatever. Like it's undergoing a process of change right now, but it is hard right now. One thing that Lilith Martirosyan, the transgender activist, told us about was that like there are like families of soldiers who've died in the Azerbaijan conflict, the Azerbaijan aggression. And those families of soldiers will be like, my son was a heterosexual and didn't fight and die for, you to spread perversion, and will like go and do like media like appearances just to attack queer people off the back of their son's memory. And it's like, your son was in the army, he was sucking dick. But like, yeah, people there can be really, really gross, is my point.
Oh my fucking God.
Yeah. So I did have I should have actually prepared this beforehand. I'm going to be scrolling my phone to see if I can find something just now, because I actually had an interview that I did with Anna Nikogosyan from the Feminist Library, which we could watch if I remember where it went on my phone now.
Oh, thank you, Mav. There's
Was that?
Oh, Mav just gifted a sub.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. So basically, it's an odd country, and there's a lot of kind of conflicting stuff going on there. Um,
Well,
there was
I was going to say, while you're
yeah.
scrolling, we can ask chat if they have any questions, or at least,
Oh,
I
please,
don't know if we have
absolutely, yeah.
time for questions at this point. We might have some time for like a handful of questions, and we don't even have to ask them right now. But if y'all have any questions, we can ask them
I
now.
would
Or
be
can
open
ask...
to questions if
Okay.
people have them.
So, do you have any questions, chat? Sophie went to Armenia twice in 2 months, and like
Yeah, I've spent
went
a
to
month of
Armenia.
this. I've spent over a month of this year in Armenia. I'll tell a funny story while I'm scrolling. So we went to the gun range. I'm reminded of this because I do have. I'll just hold it up to my camera rather than. I do have
Was there?
footage of me
Here's a question.
shooting big gun.
Ooh. Cool.
Um, Pretty good grouping, I think. Anyway, um, I had a funny thing. So I have two funny stories about this actually. One was that, as you can see in that video, there's like a screen for showing the target up close, so you can see how well you're shooting it. I couldn't, so I couldn't aim down the gun with my glasses on because of recoil, and I couldn't see the screen with my glasses off. So I was shooting like, a burst of three and then look up at the target and then like I'd try a bit more and look up at the target. And I was convinced through this whole clip that like I was missing the target entirely because I couldn't see the holes at all. And then I put my glasses on after emptying the clip and I realized that they had all gone into the black ring in the middle and that's why I couldn't see them with my glasses off.
Oh.
I was like, okay, that fucking works.
So you're like a god, basically.
I'm not as good as Leica. She's more practiced than me, but yeah, I'm okay at aiming. The other funny thing about the shooting was that when we were going through airport security, my suitcase was just a roulette of what was going to get us flagged. Because as I said already, we'd bought a bunch of like switchblades that we were bringing in, which we keep at home in accordance with UK law, and never take them anywhere. They're just fun stim toys, essentially. I know I do this bit a lot where I loudly declare that I'm obeying the law, but in this case, I literally mean we're not taking these knives anywhere. But we had those. We had a bunch of redacted. We had the bullet casings from the shooting range. We also had some like hot and cold packs that I've been using to ice my face, and obviously those are innocuous, but like it did occur to me that in an X-ray, a bunch of these like gel packs, like in sequence in a suitcase, like looks kind of like explosives. So I was like, what is gonna cause the security to flag my suitcase specifically, because it will be something, and yeah, I knew it would be something, and then they did stop us. I'm gonna briefly roast Leica. She was being like, "This is because we're trans. They're doing this to us because we're trans." And it was like, "No, babe, my suitcase is full of contraband." And we got over there, and they were like, "So you have bullets in your suitcase?" And I was like, "Oh, okay, that was what did it." And so we opened up the suitcase to show them, and I mean I've got them here. So it was just like we were just like, they're spent casings. We went to a shooting range, that's why, and they were like, oh, that's okay then, and then the funniest possible thing happened then, which was that the airport security woman wrote a log that I then signed in the security log, which basically said she has bullets, but don't worry about it. Like, it's fine. There are bullets here, but it's fine. Yeah. I'm just going to post to the Discord a little tour that Anna gave us of the feminist library in the Shadowy Cabal channel. My phone is being a piece of shit. This is great. What's Leica linking in chat?
Leica just posted this video, and I don't know what it's about though. Full description. Let's see here.
Oh my god.
Which one is
Okay, so she's posted a few things from Armenia. One is so one was a tree with a balaclava on it. This was like some random art students went around the town just like putting balaclavas on trees. What are you showing on? Are you showing anything just now? Oh, is it the taxi driver? Right. Okay. So on the way to the hospital for my surgery, our taxi driver answered two separate phone calls. The first one he took 2 minutes to answer because he had the phone upside down and sunglasses on. And it's considered bad manners to wear a seatbelt in Armenia because it implies that the driver might crash. So I think the video that she linked was just like the guy on the phone while driving. It's the taxi culture is kind of bizarre. It's not kind of bizarre. It's the wildest fucking shit in the world, and it's considered rude to wear a seatbelt, and all the taxis are like missing the front of the entire taxi, and it's like that you visibly they have been in several crashes already, and it's bad manners to wear the seatbelt because you're implying that they might crash, but it's like you did crash. I can see that you've crashed.
This is so funny.
It was bizarre.
So funny.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
There was one really fun taxi driver who had like gamer lights under the seats, and he he would like play the music on his radio really loud and like stop and start the car to the beat to like shake us around, and then he like put on like colored lighting so that it was just like a little rave in the car. That was very funny. I enjoyed that guy a lot. We gave him a big tip.
By the way, we have a few questions if you want.
Yeah, I'm open to questions while I'm trying to find this stuff. I'm sorry that I didn't prepare this beforehand.
No, you're fine. Is it almost Elise? Asks, was there any banger food?
Oh my goodness. So Armenian food culture is completely off the chain. Like Armenian food culture is some of the best food culture in the world. Anthony Bourdain would go back to Yerevan every year until he died to specifically eat at a restaurant called Dolmama. So if you find yourself in Armenia, I can't recommend Dolmama strongly enough. Like it's an incredible place to eat. Last time that we went on the first trip, just me and Laika, and we went on the second trip, me and Laika and Nat. And the second time I cried at the end of the meal because from the food, like, you know, in Ratatouille when like the guy, like you zoom into his eye and he's like tasting the thing and it's like like that happened to me. Like it's an amazing place of food. It's really incredible.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Is my answer.
Yeah.
Basically everywhere that we ate like was incredible. The most mid stuff we had was KFC because it was just an American brand. Like everything else was incredible. Like the most basic stuff was itself absolutely unbelievably good.
And here's another question.
Okay.
Latrek asks, what are your tips for, this is a little heavier question, what are your tips for staying safe in this grotesque and duplicitous world when being trans abroad or at home on Turf Island? Jesus.
Are there more questions?
Is that sufficient?
I mean, that's that's literally the answer. Like,
arm yourself.
The second
so long as it's legal.
The second time around when we got to the antiques market to just like check out what was there and like hang out, we got there and I saw a guy with Nazi tattoos who looked at me and made a noise. So I went and bought this immediately. That's seriously my answer. Like, I mean, it's not for everyone to do that. Like, but then that's all I can say, really. I don't know.
Do you remember the Nazi stand? What?
Oh yeah. So again at the antique stall, there were a lot of people. There were a lot of people who were selling like Soviet memorabilia because there's a lot of Soviet tat, right? Like, I mean, you know this because I sent you our Udanic pins to all of the Red Planet hosts.
I love it so much, by the way.
And I got like one Udanic pin for every Red Planet team member, and I got like Consomol pins, which are like a little like Lenin head with a red star on fire for like my kind of local doll gang, and I got a bunch of other like pins that I just find really pretty, which I've given as gifts to people. And like there are so many pins. There are so many like membership to the Communist Party of the USSR books that you can get. There are so many medals. There are so many Leica and I bought another knife, which was like an NKVD knife. Like it's black. It's like a black wooden handle, and it has like a little hammer and sickle and a red star like engraved into it. It's a beautiful knife. There's so much Soviet stuff you can get. And then, because you are white English-speaking tourists who are interested in history stuff, some of the stall operators will be like, I also have Nazi things. And some of the stall operators just have just Nazi stuff. So like there were several times where we would be checking out Soviet stuff, and they would be like, "Do you want?" There were also swastika pins, and there's also like this stuff or whatever. But there was one stall in particular that was just so much Nazi stuff, and like he had a bunch of like challenge coins from like the SS and like the Gestapo and shit. It was absolutely fucked.
What is? I don't know what that means. Challenge coins. But, like,
oh, you don't know about challenge coins?
No, I don't know what that is. Leica just linked a picture of the knife that the one you were describing with the red star. It was like a black wooden handle. It's really pretty. It's super pretty.
So challenge coins are a tradition in the armed forces and the police. Where if someone's done something in particular, like rather than getting a medal, it's not something that's official. Like it's not an officially sanctioned like prize for doing something. So it's not a medal, but it's presented somewhat informally. Like you did something that's kind of outside of the structure of like promotions and recognition and medals, but like you get this challenge coin because you did something kind of notable. In America, a lot of challenge coins today have the Punisher on them. The Punisher skull, rather. It stands out. It's like to see the like Nazi challenge coins and to think about the American police like Punisher skull challenge coins is like there's a tradition here. It's all in line. It all lines up,
Yeah, I can't. I don't think I can show, unfortunately, swastikas. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I just sent the video across, but I realized that it would be against Twitch terms of service.
Yeah, you can't do that. You're allowed to be a Nazi, but you just can't show.
Yeah, you can be swastika. A Nazi on Twitch. You just can't show Nazis to critique them. You just can't critique Nazis. That's the problem. Were there other questions?
Asking chat. This one's swastika free. Okay, thank you.
Do you want a video of me shooting a big rifle?
Sure. Is that the one?
Is that okay?
Yeah. You can show as long as you're not like brandishing it in a threatening way.
I mean, I'm just at a shooting range. I'm still trying to find the video where Anna gave us a little tour of the feminist library because I'm aware that there won't be time for the full interview that I did with her, but I am planning to post that on my channel soon. So watch out for that, and I'm going to post that. And there's also like a link to their fundraiser because they're trying to get a stable, long-term residence for the feminist library in Armenia. So that's something to watch out for. I've just found the full-length interview, but I'm gonna send you across the gun range video first, and then I'll send you the then I'll send you the trying to say the words. Oh, Anna giving us the tour of the library. Yeah.
Okay.
Here is on our text chat the video. And then okay, the tour is taking a second longer to send. Were there any more questions in chat?
I see the video now. It's nice. Okay.
Cool.
Oh, it's in a... Okay. I don't know how to show this. It might not be with sound. It's the only thing.
That's okay. I mean, the tour we probably do need sound, but we can have a think about it in a second.
I'll figure it out then. I'll figure out a way to do it. Yeah, give me a second. We have a new system, chat, so let me see. Can they hear this?
We're working through it.
Yeah, we're working through it. No, it doesn't register anywhere. Okay, so I will do. Thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Thomuel, thank you. Okay, so let's see here. Audio sources, global sources. Oh, wrong one. You know what?
What happened?
Do this. No, nothing. Nothing happened. I mean, other than me making mistakes.
Okay. Was it a similar mistake to last time?
I don't remember what I did last time. I'm sure I made it. I'm sure.
Okay,
I'm
don't
sure
worry about it.
Yeah. Okay. Why isn't it letting me pick this window?
Yeah, but like I said, just to reiterate it, I will post the full interview I did with Anna on my channel sometime soon, and I'll make sure that when this VOD is up, there's like a link to that in this VOD, and there will be also a link to the fundraiser they are doing because they need like thousands of dollars or whatever. They're trying to get a proper residence for the feminist library because, as I said before, they keep on getting like attacked or harassed, and they want to have a place where they're not like beholden to a landlord and to like shitty rental neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, add as a media source. Yeah, this system is not working at all.
It's okay. There are just some kinks to work out.
Restart playback when okay. Yeah, nothing is showing up when I add it as a media source.
Oh no.
Like literally it's not showing up at all. What the hell? Press OK? No? Yeah. Sorry,
That's
chat.
okay.
I'm
Yeah,
so
no
sorry.
worries.
Yeah, we will have to address it another time, I think. I'm literally added the videos. The problem with what we're dealing with, chat, is we're trying to do the audio in a way that is podcastable, and that requires putting it onto the computer and pushing it to you in a completely different way than I normally do. That means every single program has its own like audio feed. And I just can't capture the audio or even like the video really specific to this one application. So we can hear you can hear shots?
Oh wow.
Okay, I'm really sorry. Apparently people can hear gunshots this whole time, but you just can't see the video?
Oh wow.
Yeah, we'll deal with it another time. And
we're working through some technical issues.
Yeah,
it's chill.
Sorry, Sophie. I'm sorry. We can't.
No, it's okay. It's chill. Like has reminded me of two things that I wanted to touch on really quickly. So one is public dogs. In the area of Eastern Europe that we were in, / Central Asia, when there's like a problem of stray dogs, it's not dealt with the same way that you would in Western countries. Like we're used to the idea that people would like the state would want to like round up stray dogs, eliminate the problem of stray dogs. But in Armenia, like there were just happy, healthy, well cared for dogs everywhere. Like the state just like made sure that the dogs were like happy and healthy, like cleaned them and made sure that they were like inoculated and spayed and everything. It was just really cool. So it just meant that there were just like public dogs everywhere that you went all the time. It was really cool. I think I did notice really clearly that like fewer people seemed to own dogs in Armenia, and I do think that's probably because like people who would like to cuddle a dog today didn't think I should buy a dog. They thought I'll go to the park where there are lots of dogs and I'll just have a cuddle with one of the public dogs. It was really cool. It was really cool. The other thing that like reminded me of was Pinkberry, and that's actually like a really interesting thing. Have you had Pinkberry?
I don't know if that is.
It's an ice cream brand that's big in California, and it was really interesting that like so KFC is in Armenia. There are branches of Burger King. There are no branches of McDonald's. The Burger Kings are all currently shut down because of Russian supply chain embargoes because of the war. Um, and then there was Pinkberry, which I've never had before, but is this American ice cream brand, and I've never had it because we like didn't because it doesn't exist in the UK at all. Also, like on the way there the first time through Turkey, like I had Arby's for the first time because there was an Arby's
How
in the
interesting.
airport in Turkey that we stopped at. And this is just something I wanted to comment on that was just I found so bizarre. It's just like the scattershot way that like American brands participate in these like chains of imperialism. Like you would think almost that like countries in the Imperial Core would have like the most American brands, right? Like you would think it would be something like there are all the American brands in America, and then there are like 80% of the American brands are in the UK and Europe, and then like you get to somewhere like Armenia and there's like one or two. But actually like there were a ton of them, like so many, and they weren't the same ones that were in the UK. Like the it was just this bizarre. I don't know how to explain it. It was just a very bizarre arrangement of brands that like I really thought it would be like which ones have the furthest reach, but instead it was just like which ones happen to operate in Armenia. You know, it was bizarre.
That's really
Yeah.
interesting. Like I was
Yeah,
saying,
just
the water
capitalism makes a
culture.
very yeah. Oh yeah,
I love
Armenia
it.
has very good clean water basically, and through there are just like very very high quality public water fountains throughout Yerevan. It was really nice. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's just as I say, there's this absolute like wash of culture where like every layer of cultures that have affected Armenia still left an imprint, and so it's still there very much so. And so like for example, the public luxury of the Soviet Union is still there. So there are all these beautiful parks, right? But then there's the like Gorbachev post Soviet Union effect where like you will go to a beautiful public park, right, that has a fountain in it and like lovely healthy dogs like lazing in the sun, like hanging out, and all these lovely trees and this well-tended grass that like the state pays for like some old guy with a hose to just like take care of and make sure the park looks nice all the time, right? But then it's a KFC. Like what that park is now is a KFC, and like the rest of the park is just the seating area for the KFC.
Oh wow.
Right? So you have the Soviet public luxury, and then you have like as I say like the Gorbachev effect. Yeah, it's such a bizarre thing to see. Yeah, it's just very present, like the layers and layers of different geopolitical forces washing over the country, and that's probably a good place to leave it. I don't know. That's probably the thing that I think I remember strongest. Is just like the layers and layers of different stuff like washing in and out all the time. The impermanence of Armenia is the most permanent thing there.
Can we get some claps in the chat?
Also, it was cool to shoot a big gun, and sometime I'll let everyone see the video.
Yeah. Sorry that I couldn't provide that today. Can we get some claps in the chat for Sophie and that amazing like recollection? Thank you, Sophie. That's so interesting. I've only been to Greece because my family's there, and then England, which was very eye-opening as an American who thought England was like James Bond and Spice Girls. And then
I'm seeing one last minute question. Someone said, I have to ask, did you see black people in Armenia and how are they doing? I saw one black person in Armenia and they were having a bad time. It is not a similar answer to the question about how trans people are doing in Armenia.
oh, jeez.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Name 3 Spice
Someone
Girls.
saying shooting guns is fun. It is. I very much
Yeah,
looking
it's really
forward to when I
love shooting
come to the
guns.
US, like hanging out with all the anarchists I know and going to the shooting range. It's probably my number one plan for like socializing with my anarchist friends in America is for us to shoot guns together. if you're someone if you're someone who wants to hang out and chill, a big tip I would say is if you if you have a cool place to shoot and cool guns, tell me. They as I'm saying that, Catherine is in chat saying, "Oh my God, Sophie, come shoot at the Tenacious Ranch," and I would love that. That would be incredible. Let's do that. And I should advertise this as well. Catherine is going to be on in, I think, 2 weeks' time. Let me just check the schedule. I'm sure that Conrad is rushing to tell us in the thing right now anyway. But I'm just checking the schedule. We're going to have someone from the Tenacious Unicorn Ranch, the Doll Ranch out in Colorado, I think it is, on the 27th. So in 2 weeks' time, we are having a guest from the Tenacious Unicorn Ranch come on to tell us all about their experiences and what they're up to, and their experiences like fighting off armed fascists who want to shut them down isn't the right word. It's kill them. And like what the ranch is like and stuff. It's gonna be really, really cool. But next week we have someone from Just Stop Oil, one of the kind of founding organizers of Just Stop Oil, is coming on the show to chat with us about Just Stop Oil. And I guess that's gonna be a really interesting episode. Actually, I'm really excited about that one next week.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, and the homework is to go to Armenia. That's the homework.
The homework, I guess, is to learn more about countries in the imperial periphery and their like geopolitical situations and histories. That's why I wanted to talk about Haiti and Myanmar in this episode. I think that we could all do better to educate ourselves about more geopolitics. So just the homework, very loosely, is just go learn a little bit of geopolitics, you know?
Cool.
Cool.
Well,
thanks, everyone.
Yeah, I think we're going to raid out right now. I'm thinking left flank vets raid.
Cool.
Everyone, thank you for stopping by. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for hanging out with us, and thank you for being based. Because everyone here, if you're watching right now, it means you're based. That's what that means. So. And try to do something based this week so that next week when we meet again on Sunday, when Sophie, myself, Tim, and Mule, because we'll hopefully all be here, talk about what base things we've done. Maybe you'll have something that you can add to the conversation.
Yeah, I'd love if people in chat were telling us what base stuff they've done next week.
At twitter.com/red_planet_TV. You can let us know what base stuff you do, because we love that shit.
We do.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and Sophie, we never shouted you out. Go to Sophie's Patreon and give her money.
That's true. I actually I am working on a video right now, the next episode of the Monster Man series. So if you want to see that early, go to patreon.com/Sophie from Mars and give me $2 or more than $2, and you can see it early when it's done.
Cool. And also, you can find me here, but you can also check out my socials to find out where I'm being very based.
Check out the socials. She's so based.
I'm very based. Wink. All right. I'll see y'all. We'll see you next Sunday.
Bye.
Bye.